Welcome to Novel Love Hearing. We bring you hundreds of novel audiobooks covering every genre and every kind of story you can imagine. Action? We've got it. Adventure? Absolutely. Horror? Of course. Whether it's the legendary Uchiha Massacre or outrageous tales like stealing Naruto's and Sasuke's women, you'll find it here. From epic series like One Piece, Bleach, Fairy Tail, and Hunter x Hunter, to countless other adventures, our library has it all. Love novels but don't have time to read? No worries, just plug in your earbuds, sit back, and let the story take over. Good listening, and happy hearing. Since you hunted it, I'm in. I'll trade with green resources. Zoo's in, over 600 pounds of boar meat, all for you? Wang Lei. Boss, you trying to kill me with food? Zhu Xin realized even if he traded it all away, the resources he received in return would still exceed his carrying capacity. Thinking it over, he found Ji Qiang in his private message list and sent him a message. Are you near the treehouse? After a while, Ji Qiang replied, No, I'm out hunting too, saw your message. Too much meat to carry, huh? Direct trading is handy. It seemed that the other side was in a similar situation. Fortunately, he had a way to trade on the spot, as he couldn't carry it away. Zhu Xin replied, No problem, carry on. He sent a private message to Li Wenxi, Are you near the treehouse? Li Wenxi responded immediately, Yes, you want me to buy boar meat? It looked like she saw Zhu Xin's group message. Being at the treehouse made things easier. Zhu Xin, I'll trade the boar meat to you, you keep it for me, and give it back when I return. I'll give you a tenth, how about that? Li Wenxi paused before responding, Can you trade right there? Zhu Xin thought it was no big deal since Ji Qiang already knew, so he said, Yes, my watch is purple quality, can trade. That's great. The other side was clearly envious. Sure, a tenth for me, give me a seconds, I'm planting trees under the treehouse. Zhu Xin wasn't worried about this small-time rich girl swindling his boar meat. The minerals she held were far more valuable than boar meat. This purple-grade watch is so handy. With this method, material transfers are directly possible. Zhu Xin was pleased with his idea. In this world, only he could use this method, and he needed a trustworthy person to transfer the resources. After trading with Li Wenxi, Zhu Xin felt much lighter. Wang Lei was still asking in the group. Boss, where are you? Boss, still selling the boar meat? Boss, sell me 10 jins. Zhao Zixuan, alright, boss obviously doesn't want to deal with you. Wang Lei, I want to eat boar meat. Zhu Xin couldn't help but smile and replied in the group, Let's talk when I get back tonight. Wang Lei, alright, boss. Zhu Xin, no need to call me boss, just call me Zhu Xin. Wang Lei, alright, Zhu Xin boss. Closing the small screen of his watch, Zhu Xin looked toward the mine, heart racing. Is it a salt mine? He walked into the cave, where the ground was covered with white crystals. Pulling out the boning knife, he pried a piece of white crystal from the ground. Salt crystal, a crystal rich in salt, can be extracted to obtain edible salt. Beautiful. Zhu Xin was excited. He finally found salt, and now he just wanted to lick it like a wild boar. This salt mine was valuable. Although the jungle wasn't short on food, the human body needed salt, a necessary resource that all survivors lacked. People would certainly trade important resources for it. Zhu Xin felt he was about to become a salt baron. Now, how to extract it? Distillation? Not sure if the crafting bench can create tools to extract table salt. Never mind, better take it back first. Zhu Xin took out a pickaxe and began mining the salt. The cave was full of salt, impossible to mine completely. Zhu Xin stopped after mining about 20 kilograms of salt. Anyway, the salt mine wasn't going anywhere. First, he'd bring back some and try. Once he had a mount, the distance wouldn't be a problem. Leaving the salt mine, Zhu Xin again looked toward the interior of the hills. The map still showed a dense cluster of red dots. He decided to climb to a small hill without red dots to get a better look at the situation, since a higher vantage point offers a better view. Let's go, Keek, let's climb the hill. Choosing a small hill about 100 meters high, Zhu Xin began climbing up the slope covered with shrubs and trees, while Keek jumped directly onto Zhu Xin's shoulder. You little lazy bones. COO Keek shifted position, a bit uncomfortable on the hard iron of Zhu Xin's shoulder. Quickly, Zhu Xin reached the top of the hill and looked to the other side. Huh? There were indeed many wild animals on the other side of the hill. This area seemed like a basin surrounded by a ring of mountains, with a very flat central area and a small lake in the middle, where all kinds of wildlife came and went. Moreover, this area was exuding a green glow everywhere, with small spots of blue. A new resource zone. Zhu Xin's eyes lit up. And it seems the entire zone is within the protection range of the treehouse. Wait, what's that? Squinting into the distance, Zhu Xin could see an area exuding a more prominent blue glow. Several large, robust trees stood ahead of the blue glow, and even standing at 100 meters high, Zhu Xin couldn't see clearly. There seemed to be large stone pillars, each topped with a stone-carved statue. The statues seemed to depict some kind of animal, but it was too far to see clearly. Is that some kind of special structure? Zhu Xin felt a surge of curiosity since such notable glows were only seen at the Black Bear Cave and his treehouse, with the cave glowing green and the treehouse glowing purple. That place must be a special location. Other survivors' treehouse. Zhu Xin speculated, then dismissed the idea. Impossible, this area is full of wildlife, and that's clearly a stone structure. Maybe he should go check it out? Chapter 50. The Viper. Zhu Xin glanced at the bottom of the hill, where the herd of wild boars was previously resting. Ahead, 100 meters away, there was a herd of strong-looking cattle, with fierce bull horns and massive bodies that were even more intimidating than the tusks of wild boars. From the forest, one could faintly see a few wild deer and foxes. Zhu Xin also spotted a large orange tiger suddenly pouncing out from the forest. In the distance, the howling of wolves could be heard intermittently. Forget it. Zhu Xin gave up. It was too dangerous. At least wait until he went back and made a crossbow, with a means of ranged attack, before considering entering this area. Engaging in close combat with the beasts, one-on-one might still be possible, but with so many, if he accidentally attracted several at once, even wearing iron armor, Zhu Xin couldn't withstand it. Although he didn't intend to venture deep into this area, Zhu Xin didn't want to head back just yet. He still wanted to hunt a few more beasts, to gather more tendons and hides. His current materials were still too few. Wild boars were a relatively suitable target for hunting. If he could spot a lone wolf, even better. With the protection of iron armor, a single wolf posed virtually no harm to Zhu Xin. If luck was on his side, he might find a wolf to use as a mount. He always carried his mount contract with him. Although wolves have slightly weaker individual combat strength, they have excellent endurance and primarily hunt by chasing after flocks of sheep or deer until their prey collapses or tires out, perfectly suited for long-distance running and ideal as mounts. He observed the beasts below and the red dots on the map but didn't find any solitary wolves, and the wild boars seemed to be gathered together, likely due to having just lost a companion, with none appearing isolated. This is a bit troublesome. If only I had a ranged weapon to lure a few out. With just this iron armor and spear, I can only force my way in, Zhu Xin lamented. After a mental struggle, Zhu Xin gritted his teeth and decided to enter the peripheral area of this resource zone, but not delve deep, simply circling to see if any opportunities arose. It was really frustrating to be one material short. Zhu Xin didn't stealthily descend, instead, he picked a spot far from the boar herd and openly walked down from the hill, entering the resource zone. After all, being cautious wouldn't help, his clothes would make noise regardless. Inside the circular hill was also a forest, but unlike Zhu Xin's side, this forest was full of vitality, with various wildlife weaving through it. This side seemed more like a true jungle. Zhu Xin saw many beasts he hadn't encountered before. A rabbit suddenly darted across in front of him, disappearing into the grass. The rabbit looked so plump that Zhu Xin swallowed on the spot. Once I make the crossbow, I'll use that rabbit for practice. Squeak. Keek suddenly patted Zhu Xin with its small paw, pointing to a spot to the left front. Zhu Xin looked over, squinting for a while before he finally saw what Keek was pointing at. On the rock there lay a snake as thick as 3 fingers, its color blending with the rock so well that it seemed to merge with it. If not for Keek's alert, Zhu Xin might not have noticed it at all. Due to the giant anaconda in the lake, Zhu Xin was now quite sensitive to snakes and instinctively wanted to avoid it, but upon reconsideration, he was wearing iron armor, and this snake likely couldn't break his defense. Keek, stay here. I'm going to deal with that snake, Zhu Xin softly reminded Keek. Snake meat, snake skin, snake venom, and snake gall, they're all valuable resources. Squeak, Keek replied softly, then climbed up a nearby tree in a few swift moves, settling on a branch to watch him. This little guy, previously unafraid of those big wild boars, was quite fearful of snakes. Zhu Xin was the exact opposite. While wild boars might pose a threat, snakes couldn't really harm him. He acted as if he hadn't noticed the snake, strolling past the rock where it was lurking. The iron armor made noise, and in Zhu Xin's peripheral vision, the rock-like snake moved slightly, then suddenly struck. Here it comes. Zhu Xin didn't raise his hand to block because he had no protection on his hands, but everything else was covered with iron armor. The rock snake coiled around his leg and bit down hard on Zhu Xin's greave, producing a crisp sound. Then followed a snapping noise as the snake hissed and fell to the ground, twisting in agony. The snake's teeth had broken off against the iron armor. Zhu Xin quickly lifted his iron boot-clad foot, stomping hard on the snake's 7-inch spot, The so-called 7-inch spot was actually the heart area. Zuzin had heard that a snake's heart lies just below the head. He stomped one foot there and the other foot harshly onto the snake's head. The snake's body twisted wildly underfoot, entangling Zuzin's leg, and within seconds, it stopped moving. Zuzin habitually stomped on the snake's head and 7-inch spot twice more, then withdrew a stone spear to thrust it a few more times, ensuring it was dead. Dealing with these small beasts wearing iron armor is as easy as slaughtering chickens. Once he confirmed the 3-finger-thick snake was dead, Zuzin took out the boning knife. Though coiled, the snake hadn't seemed long, yet when Zuzin stretched it out, it measured nearly 2.5 meters, its 3-finger-thick body appearing somewhat intimidating. Keek had already leapt down from the tree, curiously poking at the snake's corpse with its little paw. "Don't mess with it. It might not be dead and could jump up to bite you," Zuzin teased. Squeak. Frightened, Keek jumped onto Zuzin's shoulder, making him laugh. With a few knife strokes, the snake's body was disassembled. Obtained, a refined snake skin, blue quality. Obtained, a venom sac, green quality. Obtained, 15 kilograms of snake meat. Obtained, a snake gall, green quality. Obtained, a snake tendon, green quality, an excellent yield. After the bear paw, another blue-grade resource appeared. It's a blue-grade beast skin. Beast skin primarily serves two purposes now, making backpacks and leather armor. Previously glancing through the crafting table, he saw that leather armor requires beast skin and beast bones. Having crafted blue-grade iron armor, Zuzin believed he didn't need leather armor, but today's experience showed that iron armor is only suitable for direct confrontations. If he wants to hunt the cautious, quick herbivores like deer, sheep, or rabbits, or infiltrate without alerting anything, iron armor might become a hindrance. If possible, he'd like to make a set of blue-grade leather armor, too. However, for now, this piece of blue-grade beast skin should be used to create a blue-grade backpack first. Zuzin turned his attention to the other materials. Venom sac, green quality, contains all the venom of a poisonous snake, can be used to craft poison arrows or poison weapons. Snake gall, green quality, the gall of a venomous snake, can be used in medicine, brewing, or eaten. It's a precious material. Must be processed quickly or it will lose efficacy. The venom sac can be used to make poison arrows. Poison arrows are deadly weapons. While a regular crossbow might not cause much harm to a beast without hitting a vital spot, a poison arrow would cause damage on breaking the skin, at least restricting the beast's movement. Zuzin didn't expect that even before making his crossbow, he'd already advanced in his capabilities. As for the snake gall, it seems to be medicinal, but he wasn't sure what it does, just heard it's quite valuable. He doesn't have any alcohol to brew it now, so he'll dry it and store it when he gets back, having heard that it could be sun-dried and stored as dried snake gall. Glancing at the depths of the jungle, Zuzin decided not to proceed. He had already gained 3 beast tendons and a blue-grade beast skin. This hunt had been quite rewarding, and he didn't want to risk himself any further. Chapter 51, Preparations before the event. Just as he turned around, he noticed a faint blue light coming from another direction not far away. There are blue-level resources over there. After observing the surroundings and finding no wild animals nearby, he walked over. It turned out to be a blue-grade poplar tree. What a great harvest! Just when the blue-grade wood was almost used up, Zuzin happily chopped down the poplar tree. After storing the newly harvested wood, blue quality, Zuzin looked towards the direction where he previously saw several stone pillars. That area was obscured by the dense jungle, but he could still see faint blue lights mixed in with the green glow. Today I'll skip that for now. It's more urgent to go back and craft the crossbow and heavy crossbow. Zuzin glanced at the pile of materials in his backpack and decided to head back. This resource area is surrounded by a circle of hills, but there's an exit on the ground between 2 of the hills. Zuzin glanced at the nearest exit. The map was covered with red dots, indicating it was likely a wild boar habitat. Forget it, it's better to climb over the hills. He didn't want to face the wild boar herd. There weren't many wild animals on the hills. Not being within the resource area, the entire hill only had a few scattered green spots, and Zuzin easily gathered the few green resources available. Returning to the top of the hill, Zuzin looked again towards the stone pillars. Huh? Did that statue change? Zuzin frowned, a bit puzzled. Although he couldn't see clearly what the statue was, the shape of it seemed to have changed. Zuzin was very curious, but he restrained his restless heart and chose to leave. The Black Bear Cave only emitted a green glow yet housed a black bear. A place emitting a blue glow must be much more dangerous than the Black Bear Cave. He'd better update his equipment before coming back. Sigh, if only I could contract a mount. Zuzin sighed as he looked at the long way home. Keek was still comfortably lying on his shoulder. Will you be able to be ridden when you grow up? Zuzin patted the little creature's head. Eep eep. Keek was confused, could it only grow this big? After nearly an hour of trekking, Zuzin finally returned to the treehouse. It was already afternoon, and Zuzin's stomach was starting to rumble. He approached the synthesis table to see if there were any tools to extract salt. As expected, Zuzin found a metal tool in the crafting list. Salt distillation extractor, green quality, add salt crystals and water, and fuel below, to obtain pure salt, requires 2 units of iron blocks, green quality, requires 5 units of wood, green quality, great. Zuzin immediately crafted the extractor. This was a metal tool, a piece of equipment Zuzin unlocked after obtaining the gold chest. Currently, only he and Jikyang could make it, which means even if others found a salt mine, they couldn't make the extractor to obtain refined salt. There's always the possibility that some people could use their own methods to purify salt. Zuzin placed the salt crystals and water in the extractor, added a few pieces of white wood as fuel, and let the extractor work. Meanwhile, he crafted a blue-grade backpack. Excellent backpack, blue quality, a backpack with 20 slots, where the amount of resources each slot can hold is determined by the type of resource. Can reduce the weight of resources to 10% of their original weight. It had 10 more slots than the green-grade backpack and halve the weight. This would allow Zuzin to carry more items. Continuing to work, Zuzin also needed to craft both the crossbow and heavy crossbow. The materials needed for crossbow arrows and bow arrows were quite similar. Crossbow arrow, green quality, the arrowhead is iron, the shaft is wood, equipped with feathers. A very standard crossbow arrow for precise strikes. Reusable, requires 2 units of iron blocks, green quality, requires 2 units of wood, white quality, requires 2 units of feathers, green quality, crafts, 20 units of crossbow arrows, green quality. Crossbow arrows also needed feathers, and he only had 4 owl feathers picked up after the beast riot, so he could only make 40 crossbow arrows. But since they were reusable, they should be enough for the time being. Zuzin used wood, green quality, to make the arrows, which should allow them to be reused more often. Catching a glimpse, he saw another type of crossbow arrow he could craft. Poisoned crossbow arrow, green quality. Applying poison to crossbow arrows creates poisoned crossbow arrows. The poison can kill small wild animals. Reusable, after recovery, they revert to ordinary crossbow arrows, requires 20 units of crossbow arrow, green quality, requires 1 unit of poison sac, green quality. 1 poison sac could poison 20 crossbow arrows. Zuzin immediately crafted 20 poisoned crossbow arrows. A faint green layer covered the arrowheads, making them easily distinguishable from ordinary crossbow arrows. Now he had 20 ordinary and 20 poisoned crossbow arrows. Crossbow, green quality, requires 5 units of wood, green quality, 2 units of iron block, green quality, 1 unit of beast sinew, green quality. Note, blue-grade tools require primary materials of blue-grade. Without blue-grade beast sinew, only green-grade crossbow can be crafted for now. Despite being a green-grade crossbow, it still had substantial weight when held. Finally, I have a means of long-range attack. Zuzin exclaimed. He tried fitting a standard crossbow arrow onto the crossbow and found it took quite a bit of effort to load it. This probably isn't how you string it, is it? Zuzin observed carefully and noticed a spot on the front end of the crossbow where he could place his foot. He removed the crossbow arrow from the crossbow and tried placing the front end on the ground, stepping on it, and pulling the string upward. This time, it was easier to load a crossbow arrow than before. So you can string it by stepping on it. No wonder it's so powerful if it's this hard to string. Zuzin went to the window, aimed at the trunk of a poplar tree outside, and pulled the trigger. Whoosh! Crack! The crossbow arrow precisely hit its target, embedding more than halfway into the trunk, with the arrow tail still slightly quivering. Impressive. Zuzin was very pleased with the power of the crossbow. He went down to retrieve the arrow he had shot and crafted a small wooden quiver at the crafting table. The quiver could hold 100 arrows, and Zuzin placed all the crossbow arrows into it, hanging it to the side. Next, it was time to install the heavy crossbow outside the treehouse. The heavy crossbow was directly made from the treehouse construction list. Zuzin clicked on the Treehouse Upgrade option on the screen. A new heavy crossbow had already appeared in the list. Iron automatic heavy crossbow, green quality, requires 10 units of fine wood, green quality, 5 units of iron block, green quality, 2 units of beast sinew, green quality. Heavy crossbow iron arrows, green quality, requires 2 units of fine wood, green quality, 1 unit of iron block, green quality. Compared to the previous wooden weapons, iron weapons were clearly stronger. Zuzin didn't hesitate to choose to make the iron heavy crossbow. Please select the position of the heavy crossbow. A diagram of the treehouse appeared on the screen. showing where the heavy crossbow could be mounted on the inner wall of the treetop. Can't it be mounted lower? Placing it on the wall leaves too many blind spots. Zhu Xin muttered to himself and eventually chose the first level because it was already high enough. Any higher, and he was afraid accuracy would be an issue. He heard a crack sound from downstairs, indicating the heavy crossbow was installed. Zhu Xin crafted 5 heavy crossbow iron arrows and went down to the first floor. On the interior wall where the heavy crossbow was located, there was a small window, and below the window was a small round hole slightly larger than the heavy crossbow iron arrow. There was also a simple lever beside the hole. Looking out the window, Zhu Xin saw a heavy crossbow about 2 meters wide and long mounted under the window. The body was mainly wooden with important parts made of iron, giving a sense of destructive power and safety. Zhu Xin looked at the hole below the window. This should be where the arrows are loaded, right? He tried pushing a heavy crossbow iron arrow with the tip facing into the hole, meeting significant resistance. He applied more force, and when the iron arrow was fully inserted, the sound of a crossbow arrow being strung came from outside. Looking at the hole again, it was empty, indicating it could continue to be loaded. The automatic heavy crossbow could load 5 shots at once, and Zhu Xin pushed all 5 heavy crossbow arrows in. With the last one, the arrow tail was still visible from the hole, showing it could not load any further. How do you fire it? This lever? Zhu Xin held the lever. Heavy crossbow lever controls the direction of the heavy crossbow, pulling outward to shoot, pressing inward for automatic mode. His item identification feature was incredibly convenient. Zhu Xin aimed the heavy crossbow at a white red poplar tree outside and pulled it outward. The iron heavy crossbow arrow shot out swiftly and precisely to the spot he aimed for, producing a loud crack as it directly pierced through the trunk of the poplar tree. The tree trunk split apart and fell to the ground in pieces of wood. Impressive. At this level of destructive power, most beasts probably can't withstand it if hit. However, the heavy crossbow had a problem. Once installed, it couldn't be moved, meaning its range was limited to this direction only, leaving areas below and behind the treehouse out of range. To solve this problem, more heavy crossbows would need to be made in the future. After retrieving and reinstalling the heavy crossbow arrows, Zhu Xin did not set the heavy crossbow to automatic mode. If a few small beasts came by, it would be a waste of arrows to shoot them automatically. Returning to the 3rd floor, fine salt had already crystallized. Zhu Xin dipped a bit to taste and found it no different from packaged salt. Time to eat. Yep. Keek, who had been dozing beside him, perked up at the mention of eating and immediately ran over. You little fellow. Zhu Xin handed Keek an apple, which it eagerly began to munch on. Zhu Xin couldn't wait any longer. He cut off a small piece of bear meat he had left over, and hung the remaining amount, divided into 5-kilogram portions, on the trade platform. After all, it's been over 2 days. If left any longer, it would spoil. He hung the snake gall in the treehouse window and took out the snake meat, slicing off several pounds. Combined with bear meat, lotus root, and mushrooms, he sprinkled some fine salt and began to grill. Soon enough, the sizzling sound of oil, accompanied by the richer aroma of cooked meat, even made Keek, who usually didn't like meat, pause its apple eating. Yep. Want to try some? Zhu Xin asked Keek with a smile. Yep. For the first time, Keek showed interest in meat. Sharing some of the grilled meat with Keek, Zhu Xin eagerly took a bite. This is amazing. Zhu Xin felt an overwhelming sense of satisfaction as the salt lifted the flavor of the grilled meat to new heights. This was real barbecue. He couldn't imagine living without salt anymore. Keek was also tearing into the grilled meat with its small mouth, making satisfied yip sounds every now and then, clearly enjoying the taste. With salt secured, meat available, and vegetables ready, the next step is to find staple crops like rice and wheat and other seasonings like chili peppers. Satisfied and licking his lips, Zhu Xin was already moving beyond basic survival to seeking food quality while others were still struggling to survive. Chapter 52, Ironclad Deal. Zhu Xin, feeling full and satisfied, video called Li Wenxi. The call connected quickly, but it wasn't from her treehouse, it was connected via her watch. You're back? Once I'm done here, I'll go up and return the pork to you. Like we agreed this morning, I've already cut off the 10th portion. Li Wenxi's face was dirty, she held an iron pickaxe in her hand, and it was quite dark around her, seemingly mining in a cave. Even the pickaxe has been upgraded to iron? No surprise, she's a rich woman with iron mines at home. Alright, if you want to keep more, you can trade me with iron ore. No need, I can't even finish that 10th portion. Li Wenxi shook her head and then moved the camera away from her face. I'll hang up then, I'm mining, all dirty and looking unpleasant. Okay. Ending the call, Zhu Xin, having everything prepared, decided to conserve energy for tomorrow's activities. Commonly known as, embrace laziness. He lay in bed, petting the dozing Keek, and began browsing the regional channel using his watch. The regional channel was still lively at this time. With the novice protection period over, beasts had returned to the jungle, fraught with danger. With sufficient water and food, most chose to stay cooped up in their tree houses. Zuzin noticed that the number of people in the channel was only 6,998, less than 7,000. Yesterday, even after eliminating those 50, there were still over 7,000? Friends, have you noticed, there are no beasts around today? You're too late to the discovery. This morning Big Brother Ji Kyang already informed us, and suggested we go out to scavenge more supplies. I went out early in the morning, spent the whole day on edge. Should have checked the regional channel first. The Benevolent Healers organization has listed the hemostatic grass procured today on the trading platform. Go check it out. What organization? It's just a lousy group. The name sounds so grand. New activities are up tomorrow, only giving us a date to rest and prepare. Sigh, I wonder if there's elimination by the end of this activity. End of the line elimination might be lucky. The first friend I made here got a bronze chest yesterday, ranked even in the top 1,000, but suffered too grievously in a monster fight, couldn't get treated here. His name turned grey today. Oh my god. Left to wait for death. Terrifying. So I'm telling you all, act within your means, don't sustain serious injuries. Even top 1,000 ranks can't save you. I need to buy some hemostatic grass. Was that guy shilling just now? It seems besides the explorers, there are also some choosing to huddle together for warmth. However, their explorers haven't spoken in the regional channel, probably because they haven't gathered yet. Though it's not anonymous on the leaderboard, one can still speak anonymously in the regional channel. So Zuzin anonymously asked, is there really no beasts around anyone? Yes, someone even reached the boundary and didn't see any beasts. Zuzin thought about it. He went hunting 3 kilometers away, and within his treehouse's 3-kilometer range, there were indeed no beasts, which he could see on the map at a glance. Of course, except for those piranhas in the center of the lake. Looks like today really is a rest day. Ji Kyang probably also hunts beyond the 3-kilometer range. He also understood why dozens died today. Some of them succumbed to serious injuries they couldn't heal from, and some might have had a screw loose and wandered out of the safe zone. Currently, there's no way to heal serious injuries. You absolutely can't get seriously hurt during exploration. Thinking this, he opened the trading platform to see if there was anything he needed. As expected, there were still no blue-grade resources on the trading platform. Blue-grade resources were generally traded privately, and those capable of obtaining blue-grade resources mostly belonged to the explorers organization he was in. However, there were quite a few green-grade resources, some of which even he hadn't acquired. Mountain celery? Green vegetable, bought. What are these weird edible fungi? Bought. Whoa, even dandelion, such wild greens? Bought. After a while of scavenging on the trading platform, he didn't find many useful resources. Instead, he exchanged some negligible green wood from his stockpile for various wild greens. Eating meat all the time isn't healthy, better to have more green vegetables. He also saw that some were selling hemostatic grass on the trading platform, quite a lot of them, likely picked by the people from the Benevolent Healers, seen earlier. Zuzin looked towards his group. The explorers were relatively quiet, as everyone wasn't the type for idle chatter. Just then, Li Wenxi finally initiated a video call with him. Once connected, she was no longer the dirty-faced miner, her hair still slightly damp. I'll trade it back to you now, I've kept a 10th portion. Okay. Zuzin agreed to the trade, kept some for himself, and listed the remaining pork. By the way, I wanted to ask, why are there beasts around your treehouse? I didn't see anything after walking around. Li Wenxi curiously asked, is it related to your gold chest? I have a bigger area to move around compared to you all. That's nice, I want to hunt some beasts too, can't make a heavy crossbow without beast tendons. Do you have any extra? I'll trade you some resources. Zuzin shook his head, no, I've already used it all myself. Oh, alright then. Li Wenxi seemed a bit disappointed. There should be beasts during tomorrow's activity, you have iron armor, you can handle them. That's right. I want to trade some wood for your iron ore. You still have plenty, right? I have so much of it that I don't even want to keep mining anymore. Li Wenxi directly took out some refined iron blocks and exchanged them with him. After hanging up the video call, the sky had already darkened. Zuzin cuddled Keek and slowly fell asleep. Zuzin was woken up by the vibration on his wrist. It was a voice call from Ji Kyang, one of the only 2 people allowed to voice or video chat with him. He looked at the time, it was 10:30 in the evening. Zuzin answered the call. What's up, calling so late? Late? You slept. Everyone's gathered in the group, come show your face, Ji Qiang didn't expect Zuzin to sleep so early on the eve of an event. Oh? That last person, what's their name? Chig's-Fi, ranked 8th. After hanging up the call, Zuzin looked at the Explorers group chat, where everyone was welcoming Chig's-Fi. This Chig's-Fi seemed to be a very quiet girl, simply saying thank you all and nothing more. Ji Qiang, alright, now that everyone's here, I'll repeat what I told you. Zuzin watched as Ji Qiang typed out the purpose of the organization's creation and its tasks, his eyelids getting heavy. Yuan? Keek was disturbed by Zuzin's movements, glanced at the screen projected by the watch, turned around, and went back to sleep. Does anyone have any questions? No, boss. No problem. I have a question. Suddenly, the new member Chig's-Fi spoke up, I want a set of iron armor right now. Can you or Zuzin make it for me? Qin Yanlong, we also want 2 sets of iron armor. Ji Qiang, do you have the raw materials? Iron ore is scarce now, and I don't have any extra. Both were silent. Just then, Li Wenxi suddenly sent him a private message, should I provide them with iron ore? Zuzin replied, it's up to you. It's a bit troublesome. How about this, I trade iron blocks with you, and you make it for them, how about that? You could directly trade iron ore with them, I kind of don't want others to know I have a lot of iron ore, and you have to keep it a secret for me. Also, selling raw materials to consumers isn't the right way, selling to producers is the normal way. That makes sense. Alright, happy cooperating. Having resources and not profiting would be a waste. After trading with Li Wenxi, Zuzin directly said in the group, I have a source of iron ore that I can sell to you, but you need to offer a price that satisfies me. Of course, this price referred to the materials for exchange. Chig's-Fi, Qin Yanlong, private chat. In the next second, Chig's-Fi sent him a private message, showing the resource's attributes. Seeing this resource, Zuzin's pupils contracted. Hemostatic herb, blue quality, a miraculous herb that can quickly heal severe wounds. Cannot regenerate limbs or organs, she actually has blue-grade hemostatic herb. Blue-grade hemostatic herb, it can save lives at critical moments, trade 1 for a set of green-grade iron armor. Honestly, this deal wasn't a loss for Zuzin. He only used green-grade wood and blue-grade consumable fruit to trade with Li Wenxi for iron blocks, making his cost very low. But holding the technology, he naturally knew how valuable this iron armor was to others. 3 hemostatic herbs for 1 set of iron armor. 3 is too many, this is life-saving herb. Iron armor is just green-grade armor, at most, 2 herbs. Deal, just a reminder, iron armor is heavy, you might not be able to move in it. That's none of your concern. Zuzin immediately made a set of green-grade iron armor and initiated a trade with Chig's-Fi. The other side quickly accepted the trade. With 2 blue-grade hemostatic herbs in hand, Zuzin couldn't help but smile as he looked at the small herbs glowing blue. Now, he's not even afraid of getting hurt, as long as he doesn't lose limbs, there won't be a big problem. Over there, Qin Yanlong took out blue-grade large red berries, which Zuzin also had, and he knew that a single berry bush could yield over 30 berries, so given the apple tree's fruiting cycle, red berries could probably be harvested every 10 days or so, making them not too precious. Nonetheless, as Keek's feed and a major nighttime resource consumption, the more, the better. 50 red berries for 2 sets of iron armor. 50? These are blue-grade resources. Don't think I don't know, I have these too. The red berry bush is the truly precious blue-grade resource, while the berries are just its products. A single bush can produce over 30 berries, so 50 is the base price. The other side realized Zuzin wasn't easy to fool, so their tones softened, and after quite some back and forth, Zuzin traded 2 sets of green-grade iron armor for 40 large red berries. Time to sleep, need to replenish energy. Once finally done, Zuzin lay down on the bed and gradually drifted off to sleep. Chapter 53 Jungle Hunting Activity. The next day, Zuzin woke up early because he had slept too much the night before. Yan Keek stretched its furry body beside him. After enjoying breakfast, Zuzin began preparing the things he would need for the day. He packed all his previous tools into a blue-grade exquisite backpack, slung the quiver for his crossbow over his back, held the crossbow in his hand, and donned iron armor, fully armed. Attention, survivors, today's event is about to begin. Next, we will introduce the event content, please listen carefully, survivors. The beasts will truly return to the jungle. Starting today, the jungle will be teeming with beasts. We believe you survivors have already gained the ability to hunt beasts and protect yourselves, so enjoy the hunt. This event is the jungle hunting event. Over the next 2 days, go hunt beasts and earn points. The points vary based on the types of beasts you hunt. Points can be used to exchange for limited supplies after the event ends. Friendly reminder, Do not explore areas outside the treehouse's protection range, or terrifying things will happen. This reward event will last from today 8 o'clock until tomorrow 1800 hours. Make sure not to slack off. The last 50 survivors to gain points in each area during the event will permanently leave this beautiful world. We look forward to seeing survivors standing on the corpses of beasts, becoming the kings of this jungle. The jungle hunting event begins now. The beasts are returning to the jungle? Zuzin immediately opened the map. Sure enough, a plethora of red dots had already swarmed into the 3-kilometer radius around his treehouse. Although it wasn't as overwhelming as the first day's beast invasion, the numbers were still staggering. Beasts continued to pour in from the beast gathering area to the northwest, quickly reaching a balance between the two locations. Looking out from the treehouse window, Zuzin could already see various small animals in the vicinity of his treehouse. There were even a few monkeys playing on the poplar tree tops not far from his treehouse. Fortunately, he didn't activate the automatic attack of the heavy crossbow, otherwise, it would have been amusing to shoot at monkeys. More importantly, monkeys are so agile and mobile that the heavy crossbow might not even hit them. Zuzin decided to stay put for now and wait in the treehouse until more beasts gathered around, planning to use the treehouse to kill some beasts and then venture out once the immediate threats had been dealt with. At this moment, Keek had already jumped up to the window, leaning out to watch the beasts outside, seemingly unimpressed. Reflecting on it, perhaps the current situation was the jungle's original state before their group of survivors arrived. Be careful, don't fall out, Zuzin cautioned. Yawn. Keek replied, continuing to lie by the window. After all, it often slept on tree branches and had never fallen before. Suddenly, a giant vulture screeched as it flew past the treetop of the treehouse, its massive wingspan nearly reaching 5 meters, which startled Keek into a jump at the window ledge. Yelp yelp yelp. I told you to be careful. Worried that Keek might fall, Zuzin hastily picked it up from the window. The vulture just now was indeed enormous. Zuzin was quite amazed. Vultures are the largest birds of prey, with a wingspan that can reach up to 5 meters, and that one had nearly reached the largest on Earth. The beasts here are excessively large, shooting it down would surely yield a lot of feathers, wouldn't it? But Zuzin was just entertaining the thought. Given the speed of the vulture, the crossbow bolt would probably miss it unless he could catch it during feeding. He wondered if automatic shooting could hit a moving target. Fondling Keek's furry head in his arms, Zuzin looked towards the direction of the lake's heart. That's where his greatest concern lay, the lake giant python. During the last beast invasion, the giant python appeared with its rock-like head and abyssal eyes, leaving a formidable impression on Zuzin. Thankfully, this time the giant python seemed absent, without even its red dot appearing on the map, leaving only the piranhas swimming in the lake's heart. As long as the giant python didn't show up, the other beasts posed little danger to him. Even if he couldn't best them, these beasts could do little against his well-fortified treehouse. Zuzin descended to the first floor by the heavy crossbow. He had already heard several wolf howls and some unknown beast roars. More wolves, please, so I can choose a mount, Zuzin murmured to himself, gazing outside. The area outside the treehouse was gradually bustling, and even a grass-eating deer appeared under Zuzin's tree. Perhaps because his treehouse was built on the tallest tree in the area, even its canopy was being frolicked on by monkeys. Zuzin ignored them, focusing intently on observing the surrounding situation. A silver-gray wolf emerged from the forest not far away. Here they come. Following the lead wolf, over 20 silver-gray wolves emerged, forming a pack. That's quite a lot. How am I supposed to deal with this? Zuzin felt a bit troubled. His heavy crossbow had only 5 shots, and even with the crossbow, confronting the wolf pack might be futile since they would retreat, leaving him with perhaps 1 or 2 hits, only for them to vanish. He even wished to pick one as his mount. Examining the wolf pack, Zuzin eventually fixed his gaze on the one with the shiniest fur and largest build. This wolf stood out prominently in the pack, being almost an entire circle larger in stature than the other wolves, likely weighing as much as a black bear, and clearly the core around which the pack revolved. Is this the wolf king of the pack? It looks stunning, Zuzin marveled at the grand and majestic silver-white wolf king, unable to avert his gaze. Perhaps there's a chance to make it his mount. The pack of wolves was converging beneath his treehouse, seemingly targeting the deer underneath. Deer generally run faster than wolves, with most wolf packs opting to chase until the prey is exhausted or collapses, becoming a meal. However, this wolf pack appeared smarter, having learned to encircle. About 20 wolves had gradually formed a circle around the treehouse, trapping the deer inside. It seemed the deer would meet its end here. Zuzin didn't hurry to act. He planned to surprise the wolves once they began to feast, particularly giving the Wolf King a shock. His intermediate mount contract had a property allowing it to heal all pre-contract injuries to the mount, meaning as long as he didn't kill this Wolf King, There wasn't much of a problem. The deer that had been grazing beneath the treehouse had stopped, raising its head, becoming uneasy as it sensed the surrounding danger. However, it was too late. A group of silver-gray wolves emerged from behind the trees. Panicked, the deer began to flee aimlessly. With a howl from the Wolf King, all surrounding wolves leapt out, charging at the escaping deer. The deer's cries of despair echoed throughout the resource area, startling a flock of birds from the surrounding jungle. As expected, the deer was bitten to death on the spot, its blood staining the ground beneath Zuzin's treehouse. The wolf pack, with strict hierarchy, stood around the fallen deer, not rushing to feast, awaiting the Wolf King to first enjoy the meal. The Wolf King approached and began its feast while the other wolves remained vigilant and on guard. Now's the chance. Zuzin's hand swiftly reached for the heavy crossbow crank. Chapter 54, Wolf King and the Brown Bear. Zuzin watched the Wolf King eating under the tree, hesitating for a moment. Zuzin's goal was to keep the Wolf King as his mount, so his first unexpected shot definitely should be aimed at the Wolf King, but he had also seen the power of the heavy crossbow, which could pierce through a tree. What if it directly killed the Wolf King? His intermediate mount contract could indeed heal injuries, but if it was dead or missing limbs, it probably wouldn't be healed. The Wolf King had already slowed down its eating speed, and Zuzin gritted his teeth. Forget it, I can't just watch it finish eating and walk away. Strike first, if it dies, find another one. With this thought, Zuzin aimed the heavy crossbow at the back of the eating Wolf King, slightly adjusting the direction to reduce the possibility of the Wolf King being killed instantly. Yelp. Just as he took a deep breath and was about to pull the lever to release the crossbow arrow, Keek suddenly called out, tugging at Zuzin's clothes and pointing in a direction with its little paw. What's wrong? Zuzin paused his actions. A few wolves on the outskirts of the pack suddenly howled, with a howling sounding piercing, as if warning of something. Even the Wolf King, who was eating, stopped and lifted its head. Zuzin looked in that direction, then drew a sharp breath. Hiss. From the shadows of the jungle, a huge figure slowly emerged. A big guy. Truly a big guy. Brown fur, a robust body, with limbs as thick as pillars, making it seem unthinkable to fight it. That enormous body was slowly moving towards the wolves' prey. The surrounding wolves swiftly made way for this giant. A brown bear. The largest terrestrial carnivore. Adult male brown bears in the jungle have no natural enemies except humans, making them the undisputed overlords of the forest, the top predators. Zuzin didn't expect that this wolf pack had actually attracted the forest overlord. The brown bear's gigantic and sturdy body made even Zuzin, who had seen underground monsters, feel a bit intimidated. After all, those monsters were thousands of meters away, not very clear, but this forest overlord was only dozens of meters away. This giant had an enormous build, with a weight clearly over 1,000 kilograms, truly weighing tons. The black bear Zuzin had previously defeated seemed like a newborn baby next to this big guy. The largest terrestrial carnivore on Earth, the Kodiak bear, could reach over 1,100 kilograms, and Zuzin felt this big guy was definitely no less than the brown bears on Earth, maybe even larger. Zuzin even doubted if his heavy crossbow flew over, it might be swatted away by its paw. He dared not make a sound because he knew brown bears could climb trees, and not slowly either. He only had one heavy crossbow, which, being fixed to the outer wall, couldn't cover all directions around the treehouse, especially towards the tree trunk. The range of the heavy crossbow can't cover the inner positions beneath the treehouse. Zuzin felt the limitations of the heavy crossbow were quite significant. Fortunately, both the brown bear and the wolf pack were currently within the attack range of the heavy crossbow. Let's observe the situation first. Oh, Wolf King, don't court death. You're nothing in front of this big guy. If you die, who will be my mount? Zuzin muttered to himself. Even though the wolf pack was numerous, they had no good solution against the brown bear, as brown bears stealing food from the wolf pack and even toying with them was a common sight on Earth. At this point, the brown bear had already approached the prey hunted by the wolf pack, completely ignoring the Wolf King. Before the brown bear got close, the Wolf King started growling with bared fangs. As the leader of the pack, it naturally had to protect the prey hunted by the pack, ensuring its pack could eat, even if facing the forest overlord. However, the brown bear completely ignored the Wolf King's warnings, stepped forward, and started to eat the pack's prey. Perhaps feeling its authority challenged, the Wolf King began attacking the brown bear actively. It growled, bared its teeth at the brown bear, and reached out with its claws to scratch the bear. The brown bear only tugged at the deer's corpse to the side, lazily using its claws to tussle with the Wolf King. No. Zuzin became anxious watching from above. Do you have a death wish? The gap between the Wolf King and this brown bear was like a 40-pound child and a 200-pound muscular man. The other wolves could barely match a 20 or 30-pound child, and even if they all swarmed, they would be swatted away by the bear. Yelp. Keek lay by the window, watching with keen interest. Wolves fighting a bear. This scene was very familiar to Zuzin. During the previous beast riot, this was the scene below his treehouse, but that was just a black bear, not comparable to a brown bear. A wolf and a bear started to tussle, and the other wolves were already scared away, not wanting to face this big fellow. The Wolf King kept tussling with the brown bear, attacking aggressively, trying to reclaim the prey from the bear's mouth. But the brown bear, be it in strength or skill, was far superior to the Wolf King, completely seeing through its attacks, even rolling on the deer's corpse, toying with the Wolf King. The brown bear's fluffy body, paired with what seemed to be a smiling expression, made Zuzin find this big guy somewhat cute. Suddenly, Zuzin felt continuing like this might not be a bad thing. If this Wolf King is seriously injured in its confrontation with the brown bear, the wolf pack wouldn't continue following an incapacitated Wolf King. They usually leave and choose a new king through fights. With the bear having this deer as food, it shouldn't be interested in the Wolf King, and then it would be the best time for me to contract this Wolf King. Having figured this out, Zuzin relaxed, continuing to watch this battle with no real suspense. The brown bear still lay sideways on the prey, exposing its belly to the Wolf King, blinking at it with a completely fearless demeanor, akin to a smirking expression and a fluffy face unique to bears, somewhat appearing adorable. Predators indeed love to toy with their prey and weaker beings. The Wolf King, knowing it wasn't a match for the brown bear, started circling, pulling, seeking the bear's weak spot, trying to launch a deadly strike. Seizing the right moment, the Wolf King suddenly leapt, launching a powerful attack on the brown bear. As the Wolf King attacked, the brown bear suddenly stood upright and swatted its neck with a paw. A screech resounded as the Wolf King was slapped away, landing not far off, struggling ceaselessly, with scratches beneath its neck bleeding continuously. Indeed, sigh, why bother? Just continue hunting other prey. Zuzin shook his head watching the struggling and whimpering Wolf King on the ground. The distant wolves, not daring to approach, didn't rush forward due to the Wolf King's injury but rather faded away more timidly. The brown bear also ignored the gravely injured Wolf King, focusing on enjoying the delicacy it had obtained. Zuzin looked at the fallen Wolf King. The strongest wolf in the pack, its silver gray fur now bloodstained, lay struggling on the ground. It finally managed to stand, no longer approaching but instead moved away from the brown bear, collapsing under a poplar tree. The distant wolf pack indeed didn't care for the injured and immobile Wolf King, all turning and running away. The Wolf King's body trembled uncontrollably from injury, abandoned by its pack, it might only die here. It heard the sound of human footsteps, using the last bit of strength to lift its head and look. In front of it stood a person, smiling at it. Do you want to survive? Then make a contract with me. Chapter 55 Contract with the Wolf King. Zuzin stood on the treehouse, his expression somewhat heavy as he watched the brown bear feeding below him. Can the heavy crossbow cause this guy lethal harm? If not, if this big guy climbed up in anger, he would be completely defenseless. Looking at the Wolf King already lying by the tree, he decided to first contract this perfect mount, lest it lose its life while he was dealing with the brown bear. Looking at the map, due to the brown bear's strong deterrent power, there were no other beasts around except for the big red dot of the brown bear and the faint red dot of the Wolf King. Keek, you stay up there, it's dangerous down here with that brown bear around. Ying. Keek nodded his little head, continuing to lean on the windowsill to look down. Zuzin removed his armor, stealthily descended from the other side of the treehouse to the ground, and tiptoed to the tree where the Wolf King had fallen. Close observation allowed him to fully appreciate the charm of this wolf, the strong body, the shining silver gray fur, the stubborn eyes, and the sharp fangs bared at him. It was the perfect choice for a mount no matter how he looked at it. Don't think it has no power to fight back against the brown bear, that's not because it's weak, but because the opponent is too strong. The forest overlord is not something a single wolf can handle. But Zuzin felt that this wolf, when not injured, could easily face a black bear or wild boar, or even a small-sized tiger such as a South China tiger. So Zuzin took out the contract, looked at this wolf that had lost its strength, and said in a gentle tone, "Do you want to survive? Then sign a contract with me." The sharp fangs of the Wolf King gradually retracted, looking helplessly at him. Whoa! Perhaps because of the contract card, this silver-gray wolf no longer bared its teeth at Zuzin, issuing a warning-like low growl, but instead let out a whimper, its gaze softening, seemingly pleading for help. Zuzin didn't waste time, fearing this wolf wouldn't hold on and might pass away directly. He immediately crushed the contract card in his hand towards it. Blue fragments enveloped the heavily injured wolf, and to Zuzin's astonishment, they began rapidly healing the wolf's injuries. Within 10 seconds, the scratch marks under its neck completely vanished. Even the fur that was ripped off grew back. The silver wolf's body, lying on its side on the ground, gradually regained strength from weakness. Finally, the fully recovered silver wolf stood up, approached Zuzin, and affectionately rubbed its head against Zuzin, emitting dog-like woof-woof sounds. Contract successful. Acquired mount, Jungle Grey Wolf King, succeeded. Zuzin suppressed the excitement in his heart, patted the silver wolf's head. From today on, you're my mount. With your silver grey fur, and since you were once the Wolf King, I'll call you Silver King. The silver wolf stuck out its tongue and licked Zuzin. Conquered Jungle Grey Wolf King, awarded points, 50 points, a mysterious voice suddenly sounded, making Zuzin pause. Does using a contract count as a hunting achievement? Zuzin glanced at the map. The Silver King, originally a red dot, had now turned into a green dot. So the green dot is a companion's light? Zuzin pondered. Keek hasn't appeared on the map yet, is it because there's no contract to ensure it? Looking in the direction of the brown bear, Zuzin discovered that the bear was gone, and the dead deer seemed to have been taken away by it, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. Missed a golden opportunity, missed a golden opportunity. Zuzin felt a bit of heartache. The brown bear within heavy crossbow range was his only chance to severely injure it, and the points for this forest overlord would surely be very high. Of course, it was only possible. If he couldn't deal a direct severe blow, he'd be in danger himself. This big guy could climb up the tree trunk and into the treehouse. Forget it, the brown bear helped him obtain a very cool mount, just let it go this time. Zuzin consoled himself. The Silver King beside him looked at the bloodstains on the ground, showing bared fangs, and issued a low growl from its throat. It still had a deep shadow and hatred for what just happened. Alright, that brown bear isn't something you can deal with right now. Zuzin scratched the Silver King's chin, starting to draw big promises. When we become stronger in the future, I'll let you have your revenge personally. Woof woof. The Silver King closed its eyes comfortably, emitting small dog-like sounds. Zuzin didn't know if it could understand him. After all, Keek was a special case, so he suddenly said, Silver King, sit down. Whoa. The dignified Wolf King immediately sat down like a dog, but the scene didn't look out of place at all. It can understand. Zuzin clapped his hands, thoughtfully. Is it that the beasts of this world can understand human speech, or is it because of the contract? Alright, Silver King, let's take you home. From today on, you'll be sleeping in the treehouse. Zuzin controlled the roots of the treehouse, leading Silver King into the treehouse. Experiencing the sensation of flying for the first time, Silver King didn't seem too surprised. Perhaps after just experiencing life and death, it didn't take these minor things seriously. Ying. Upon entering the treehouse, Silver King's much larger body startled Keek. However, Keek wasn't scared but curiously walked forward, examining this handsome silver wolf. Keek, from now on it will be our partner, it's called Silver King, you should get along well. Silver King, this is Keek. Ying. Whoa. A small panda and a wolf began interacting, and Zuzin smiled knowingly, moving to the screen to check the regional channel. At home, he preferred the larger screen. The number of people in the regional channel was continuously decreasing. Oh my god, another 50 people are going to be eliminated. But I really don't want to go out. There's a tiger outside. How am I supposed to go out? I'm just holding a stone spear, should I slide it to feed it? You're lucky to have a stone spear, I only have a wooden stick so far. Crafting a weapon crafting station requires iron ore, which I don't have at all. What the hell, can't you check the trading platform? Big Boss Zuzin and Big Boss Jiqiang's organization, Explorers, is already selling weapons that can only be crafted with a weapon crafting station, and any green-grade resources can be traded. Wow. Really? How could I not know? I need to check it out. Didn't Big Boss Jiqiang just post a message in the regional channel? Don't you even read the boss's messages? The explorers have already started selling weapons? Zuzin checked the trading platform. Indeed, several organization members were listing many conventional weapons for sale, requiring resources worth about double the cost for exchange. Besides, others were also learning from them and listing weapons on the trading platform, with prices similar to theirs. After all, conventional weapons can be crafted with a weapon and armor crafting station, and some people were able to create such stations. Zuzin looked at the Explorers group. Sure enough, Jiqiang had already mentioned this matter in the group. Everyone, the jungle hunting event has started, and many people are still using the most primitive wooden sticks and hammers. We can put up a wave of conventional weapons, pricing them at about double the cost is more appropriate. Additionally, blue-grade food can attract beasts' attention. If you have the confidence, you can use this to attract and hunt beasts. Moreover, from my testing, blue food in your backpack won't attract a beast's attention. Chapter 56, The Hunt Begins. Jiqiang's first sentence didn't catch Zuzin's attention, but the second one made his eyes light up. Almost forgot, Keek was attracted to the red berries being carried in a pocket back then. Those beasts would naturally be interested in these blue-grade fruits as well. Zuzin thought for a moment and decided to share a bit of information in the group. Blue-grade fruits won't attract beasts before harvesting, only after we survivors pick them do they gain quality and attraction. So, everyone doesn't need to worry about blue-grade ingredients being eaten by beasts. But be careful when picking them in the wild and put them in your backpack quickly, otherwise, they will attract powerful beasts. Of course, you can also use the reaction of nearby beasts to judge whether the fruit is of blue grade. Ji Qiang chimed in, that I truly didn't know, but now that you mention it, I remember another piece of information. The beast's carcass must be cut using the skinning knife made by the Treehouse. I tried cutting it myself yesterday, and the meat and skin I cut out had no grade. The beast skin can't be used for making backpacks and armor, and the meat can't be traded on the platform, it's just ordinary meat and skin. The meat is fine for personal consumption, but although you can make a beast skin backpack, it won't have the Treehouse backpack's storage and weight reduction features. So, everyone, don't choose self-cutting because you save on the skinning knife, what's cut out is useless. Oh? Zuzin squinted his eyes and started to ponder. He recalled the introduction of the blue-grade skinning knife. Skinning knife, blue quality, a delicate knife that can quickly decompose beast carcasses, with a chance to obtain blue level and below materials. Using this skinning knife, there is a chance to obtain blue-grade materials. In other words, the reason for obtaining blue-grade materials isn't the beast carcass's original grade but because of this knife. This also explains why the 200 kilograms wild boar Zuzin painstakingly hunted didn't produce blue-grade materials, while a snake he accidentally crushed did. The beast's carcass affects the type of material received, and the skinning knife's grade influences the material's grade. Perhaps the chance of high-grade materials appearing is higher with strong beast carcasses. The reason might be similar to Zuzin's previous theory about why red berries don't attract beasts before harvesting. These so-called attributes are given by this survival game. The original beasts didn't have grades, and he couldn't see the green, blue, purple glows on them with his ability, only differently bright red dots on the map. The skinning knife imbued the materials cut from beast carcasses with attributes, enabling them to participate in treehouse construction. This guess further proves that these so-called green, blue, purple resource grades aren't things originally possessed by this world, they are given by this survival game. A mysterious hand is manipulating this world and these outsider survivors. Shaking his head, Zuzin suppressed these thoughts down in his heart. This wasn't the time to consider these issues. He sent a private message to Ji Qiang. Did you notice any strange structures while hunting yesterday? Ji Qiang took a while to reply. Indeed, where beasts gathered, there were several stone pillars. From a distance, they looked unclear, but they felt a bit like an altar. An altar? Zuzin pondered. The few stone pillars in position do suggest a square's four corner spots, much like the corners of an altar. Same as what I saw, planning to check them out today. Be cautious, the beasts around there are tough, not something we can handle right now. Okay. After hanging up the voice call, Zuzin turned to look at Silver King and Keek. These two were already acquainted well, with Silver King lying on the ground and Keek lying on Silver King's neck, grabbing wolf fur with its little paws and burying its head, appearing very comfortable. Alright, we need to go out and hunt beasts. Zuzin checked the map and found many red dots around the treehouse, none brighter than the brightness akin to a black bear, and not many beasts gathered in groups. The previous wolf pack had moved far away. Loading a regular bolt into the crossbow, Zuzin went to the first floor, activating the automatic shooting mode of the heavy crossbow. Perhaps he'd have a surprise gain upon returning. Zuzin took Silver King and Keek to the ground. Riding a wolf for the first time, Zuzin felt a bit excited. As though sensing Zuzin's intent, Silver King directly lowered its body. Quite obedient. Zuzin patted Silver King's head and mounted the wolf's back directly. After Zuzin sat securely, Silver King stood up. Zuzin tightly gripped the wolf's sides with his legs and held the fur on the wolf's back with both hands, slightly nervous. He had been to the grassland of Inner Mongolia, riding the entertainment horses trained there, grasping the horses' reins tightly and running several laps around the arena, leaving his arms nearly exhausted afterward. So he dared not recklessly let Silver King run. It's impossible for someone untrained to directly ride a horse. Keek climbed onto his shoulder at this moment. Zuzin let Silver King run a few steps and was amazed to find that, although not equipped with saddle-like devices, he felt seemingly integrated with Silver King effortlessly and freely. Even without holding on to the wolf's fur, he wouldn't be thrown off. Seems this is the ability of the pact. A convenient ability. Silver King, run in that direction. Zuzin directed Silver King to an area with darker red dots, intending to test his crossbow. Silver King howled once and swiftly ran towards the direction Zuzin pointed. Whoa. Haha. Zuzin experienced the thrill of riding the Wolf King through the woods, each time feeling he would crash into the poplar trees ahead, but Silver King always managed to evade skillfully without losing speed, truly exhilarating. Eek eek eek. Keek also appeared quite excited, possibly never having experienced such speed, squealing in the wind. Stop. Seeing the map's red dots very close, Zuzin commanded Silver King to halt. Silver King brake abruptly, but Zuzin didn't feel much, and Keek on his shoulder almost flew off. Eek. Keek jumped onto Silver King's head, stomping at once. Oh? You two, quiet. Zuzin scolded softly, and the two quieted down. Zuzin soon spotted those beasts, not anything dangerous, just a few spotted deer. They were quite far and hadn't noticed the spotted deer. Zuzin didn't ride the wolf forward, knowing wolves generally can't outrun deer, especially carrying him. After pondering, Zuzin dismounted Silver King, switching to poison arrows on the crossbow. He wanted to test the effect of poison arrows, saying they could be lethal to small beasts. But are spotted deer considered small beasts? He aimed at a spotted deer's body, steadied his hands, and shot a bolt. Whoosh! The bolt precisely hit the deer's body, embedded halfway, and the startled deer leapt up, sending other grazing spotted deer fleeing. Zuzin quickly loaded another regular arrow, raised his hand, and shot at a fleeing deer. Nevertheless, he missed, as the deer galloped quickly, vanishing in the forest. Zuzin shook his head helplessly, his archery skills still needed improvement. That deer struck by his poison arrow only managed to run several meters before stiffening and collapsing on the ground, convulsing endlessly. Zuzin walked over, the convulsions of the deer on the ground diminishing gradually, eventually ceasing completely. Hunted spotted deer, gained points, 10, Chapter 57. The joy of the mounted archer. A Sika deer has 10 points, and he gained 50 points when he tamed the Wolf King. It seems points are indeed divided according to the difficulty of the hunt. Zuzin pulled the crossbow arrow from the Sika deer, turning it from a poisoned arrow into a regular crossbow arrow. After retrieving the regular crossbow arrows he had previously missed, Zuzin took out his boning knife, blue quality. Sika deer are often hunted on Earth and are a first-class protected animal in Zuzin's country, as well as an endangered species. This also indicates that the Sika deer are valuable. Blue, blue, blue. Zuzin silently chanted in his heart as he used a boning knife to dissect the Sika deer. However, no blue-colored resources appeared, it was still a pile of green resources. The sinew and bones are already very common, but among them were two resources he had not obtained before. Deer antler, green quality, the unossified, hairy young antlers of a male Sika deer, a valuable medicinal material, used as a raw material for certain medications. It's deer antler. The deer he killed happened to have antlers in the state of deer antler. Unfortunately, it's not of blue grade. Currently, there doesn't seem to be a method to make medicine, and on the trading platform, only hemostatic herbs are available. He threw a portion of the deer meat to Silver King, who lowered his head and began to gnaw. The meal earlier was interrupted by the brown bear, so it hadn't eaten its fill. Although this deer was killed by snake arrow poison, the venom is only effective when it enters the bloodstream. Under normal circumstances, as long as there are no wounds in the mouth, drinking a bottle of snake venom would pose no issue. So the meat of an animal shot by a poisoned arrow is also edible. Chirp. Keek on his shoulder prodded him with little claws, pointing to a nearby bush. Oh? Zuzin looked over, the bush swayed slightly in the wind, showing no unusual signs. He glanced at the map and discovered a very faint red dot in that location. Zuzin observed the bush closely and finally noticed a hint of white. It should be something like a wild rabbit. Zuzin licked his lips, loaded a regular arrow onto his crossbow, and shot at the white spot. A cry of anguish emerged from the bush, then there was no more movement. Hunted a wild rabbit, earned points, 1, sure enough, it was a wild rabbit, but it was only worth 1 point. Zuzin immediately lost much of his interest in the rabbit. He walked up to it, in the bush, the crossbow arrow was lodged in the forehead of the rabbit he had shot. I almost thought I was a crossbow master, Zuzin laughed, pulling out the arrow and dissecting the rabbit. Nothing particularly useful emerged, so Zuzin tossed the materials into his backpack. Zuzin checked the new activity leaderboard on his watch, which didn't show rankings or points. Points don't update in real time, they should be announced at the end, as before. So he didn't know where his current 61 points stood overall. He glanced at the regional channel. There weren't many people talking in the regional channel, most had gone hunting. This time, 50 people still had to die, and no one wanted to be among the last 50. Ha ha ha. I just stepped out and chopped a snake with a stone sword, and it was a venomous one, I got 5 points. Damn, a toad is only worth 0.5 points, that's way too little. Toads have points too? Is it safe below? If toads have points, I want to go down and get some points, too. Safe or not, you have to go down. Staying cooped up in a treehouse is certain death. Gotta go. That snake gave me a tendon. I'm just up to make a bow and brag. See ya. I'm off to shoot beasts. Just by watching the decreasing number of people in the regional channel, one could tell how dangerous it is outside. Unlucky folks like Zuzin who encountered a pack of wolves and brown bears around their treehouse at the start of the activity aren't few. Seems like larger carnivores have higher points. Zuzin mused, I wonder if those carnivores would be attracted to blue-grade fruits. Zuzin pulled a large red berry from his backpack, and both Keek on his shoulder and recently fed Silver King turned their heads toward the berry in his hand. Chirp. Keek remembered that Zuzin hadn't given it high-grade fruit today and immediately demanded it with rightful indignation. Zuzin popped the red berry into Keek's mouth and pulled out another berry. Silver King, do you want it? Said if you want to eat. Howl. Silver King immediately sat down, just like an obedient big dog. Zuzin tossed the red berry to Silver King, who caught it in its mouth. The small red berry was tiny in Silver King's large mouth. It swallowed it down in one gulp, wearing an expression similar to Keek's on its wolf face. Looks like this thing can attract carnivorous beasts too. Alright, I need to get serious now. Having acquired a mount, mastered the crossbow, and confirmed the effect of blue food, Zuzin was ready to go on a killing spree. He took a few oranges out from his backpack and stuffed them into the armor, becoming a walking beast attractor. He mounted the wolf's back, pointing in the direction with the most red dots. Silver King, go. Silver King let out a bold howl, charging swiftly in the indicated direction. The surrounding small beasts were startled. Zuzin saw rabbits and foxes scurrying everywhere and birds taking off in alarm. Zuzin aimed his crossbow at a rabbit standing still, as if attracted by the blue-grade fruit he carried, watching Zuzin charging on the wolf with unmoved attention. Zuzin pulled the crossbow trigger, and the arrow hit the rabbit accurately. Hunted a wild rabbit, earned points. 1. He didn't have Silver King stop but reached out to grab the lifeless rabbit, tossing the rabbit body with the arrow into his backpack to deal with later. Sitting on the wolf's back, Zuzin reloaded his crossbow. Loading directly is more strenuous than using his foot, but it's still doable with his current strength. Another arrow flew out from the crossbow. Hunted a wild fox, earned points. 3. Zuzin repeated the same technique, once again throwing the fox with the arrow into his backpack. Haha. He felt extremely exhilarated, being on the wolf's back due to the contract. He didn't worry about falling off, hunting the small beasts like a mounted archer. Keek was the one somewhat frightened, crawling from his shoulder onto Silver King's neck, clutching its wolf fur to avoid being thrown off. Hunted a wild rabbit, earned points. 1. Hunted a badger, earned points. 3. Hunted a wild cat, earned points. 3. Hunted a chipmunk, earned points. 1. Drawn by the blue-grade food he carried, small beasts stood still or even ran toward him, and Zuzin accepted them all, bringing them into his collection. Yet quickly, he lost interest in these small animals. After all his efforts, despite the palpable satisfaction of control, the points earned were not even half of taming the Wolf King. Zuzin had Silver King stop and dismantle the bodies of these small animals. To his disappointment, he only extracted animal hides, green quality, not even getting sinew, let alone anything of blue grade. After all, these small animals don't yield anything worthwhile, Zuzin reflected somewhat helplessly. Images of the map filled Zuzin's mind, and he looked toward the northwest, where he had been yesterday. The number of beasts there had decreased significantly, as most had spread throughout the forest. But some powerful beasts like wild boars were obviously more abundant there than here. It's a good opportunity to check out that building I discovered before. Zuzin first rode Silver King back to the treehouse in a few minutes, storing the freshly hunted meat in the treehouse and listed them on the trading platform, using the hides and bones to craft a set of leather armor. Because he only had animal hides, green quality, this was just a green-grade leather armor with no set effects, but it still offered protection against clawing and biting, and most importantly, it made no sound. There must be some powerful beasts around that peculiar building. Zuzin decided to stealthily approach, hoping to avoid direct confrontation with those beasts. If he had to hunt them, ambushing with poisoned crossbow arrows would be the best strategy. He took off his armor, packed it away for future use, and put the blue-grade fruits into his backpack. Descending from the treehouse, Zuzin mounted Silver King. Keek stayed off his shoulder, opting to lie on the back of the Wolf King. Let's set off and see what that strange building is all about. Chapter 58, 3 vs 3 Battle. The speed of Silver King was incredibly fast. As the strongest wolf in the pack, even while carrying a person through the jungle, it could still reach a speed of 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. The scenery in the jungle flashed by quickly on both sides of Zuzin, who completely ignored the small wild animals as he headed straight for the resource area. The distance from the treehouse to the previous salt mine cave was just about 4 kilometers, and in just around 5 minutes, Silver King crossed a distance that had taken Zuzin nearly an hour to cover before. This is amazing, just 5 minutes? Then I could freely go back and forth. Zuzin rubbed his cheek, which was slightly numb from the wind blowing against it, suppressing his inner excitement. On the map, Zuzin could already see the red dots marking the wild boar habitat, and there were far fewer than the day before, with only a few scattered ones left in the area. Let's get these points first. Zuzin pulled out the stone spear, gripping it tightly. Riding on the majestic silver wolf king, he felt as if he were Lubu riding the red hare, filled with an inexplicable confidence. Next time, I'll exchange for an iron-tipped spear. Walking around with a stone spear makes me feel like a primitive man. Zuzin thought the stone spear felt out of place. Although the power of the stone spear was not to be underestimated, Zuzin was eager to replace it, especially since he could now craft higher-grade weapons, and honestly, it was a bit ugly. From a distance, Zuzin could see only 3 black-haired wild boars left in the sparse tree area at the foot of the hill where the boar habitat was located. Silver King, let's go. It'd be best if we could sneak up on those wild boars. Keek, you stay quiet too. Howl. Silver King responded softly, then quickly approached the wild boars. Silver King's movements became lighter, yet its speed didn't decrease much, leaping 3 to 4 meters at a time as it swiftly closed in on the wild boars. In just a few seconds, the 3 wild boars were within reach. Silver King suddenly sped up, charging towards a black-haired wild boar that had its head down rooting in the ground. The boar finally sensed the danger nearing, but it was too late. As it lifted its head, it saw a gleaming sharp spearhead. PFFT. The spearhead, propelled by Silver King's speed, pierced the wild boar's forehead. The boar's sturdy skull barely slowed the spearhead's momentum before it penetrated the skull and plunged into the brain. After a sharp, pained squeal, the black-haired wild boar closed its eyes forever. Silver King didn't stop, charging towards another wild boar as Zuzin gripped the stone spear, using Silver King's strength to pull the spearhead from the previous boar's head. The remaining 2 wild boars, seeing their companion's tragic death, let out an angry snort. One charged directly at Zuzin and Silver King, while the other seemed frightened and turned to flee. None of you will escape. Zuzin drew out a crossbow, firing an arrow at the fleeing wild boar. The crossbow bolt didn't hit the boar's body but accidentally struck its hind leg, causing it to stumble and fall. Silver King, using its agility, dodged the nearby boar's charge. Ordinary wolves might not be able to take on a wild boar one-on-one, but with Silver King's weight over 200 kilograms, in the same weight class, it was no problem to toy with this clumsy animal relying only on its head. Eek! Keek suddenly jumped off the wolf's back, sprinting towards the wild boar with the injured hind leg with its small legs. Keek! Zuzin called out in concern, as he only brought the little guy along because it often found things he couldn't. He didn't intend for it to fight. But the nearby boar had already turned and charged at him again, forcing Zuzin to first deal with the immediate threat. He gripped the stone spear tighter, thrusting it towards the charging boar. Underneath him, Silver King dodged the boar's attack, and Zuzin's stone spear didn't hit the boar's head but instead carved a deep wound on its body. Zuzin glanced toward where Keek was. Keek had jumped onto the back of the struggling wild boar, using its 4 sharp claws to latch onto the boar's skin and biting the boar's ear, just like in the previous wild boar hunt, causing the boar to thrash about wildly. Keek had the boar restrained, he needed to kill the boar in front of him quickly to go help. Silver King, attack. Zuzin had held back the command for Silver King to attack, as its moves might disrupt his own. So he dismounted and faced the injured boar alongside Silver King. The wounded boar's eyes seemed to turn red, charging at them in a frenzy, but unable to gain momentum due to the short distance, it was slapped in the face by Silver King's paw. Silver King nimbly avoided the boar's raised head thrust, biting down on the black boar's neck, and using its weight and strength, toppled it to the ground. The boar let out a pig-like scream, struggling to break free, but was met with a sharp spearhead. Squelch! Boar blood splattered as the boar's life came to an end. With this boar dealt with, Zuzin quickly mounted Silver King and rushed toward Keek. The wild boar restrained by Keek was frantically rolling on the ground, trying to shake Keek off, while Keek agilely evaded, hopping around the boar and occasionally clawing at it. Although not causing much harm, it distracted the boar with the injured hind leg, keeping it from concentrating on escaping. Keek, dodge. Riding Silver Wolf, Zuzin charged toward the boar on the ground, spear ready. Keek swiftly leapt several meters away. Silver King dashed toward it, and Zuzin's spear plunged into the back of the injured leg boar, making it let out a harrowing squeal. Zuzin didn't delight in harming animals. He pulled out the spear, aimed at the back of the boar's head, and ended its life with one thrust. Thus, the 3 wild boars all fell by his spear. The notification came in later than expected. Hunted wild boars x3, earned points, 120. The points for 1 wild boar were 40, 10 less than capturing Silver King, but not a huge difference, indicating the formidable strength of the boar. Yet despite this, he had taken on 3 at once and hunted them unscathed. Well, it was actually 3 against 3. Without Silver King and Keek, he couldn't have handled 3 wild boars alone. After the intense and thrilling battle, Zuzin relaxed and lay down on Silver King's back. The soft fur felt so comfortable Zuzin even considered taking a nap there. Eek! Keek stood up from the ground, tilting its head at him. Still lying on the wolf's back, Zuzin reached out and roughly ruffled Keek's head. You did great, but don't ever do that again. With that small body, trying to hunt like me, 1 hit could be the end of you. Eek! Keek squirmed away from Zuzin's ruffling, pointing at the boar on the ground, then raised its little head. Okay, you're amazing, but don't be so reckless in the future. Eek! Lying on the wolf's back for a while, Zuzin felt relaxed enough to doze off. No, I can't slack off, I need to break down these 3 boar carcasses first. Zuzin propped himself up and took out the boning knife. The 3 wild boars were quickly dismembered. As expected, the drop rate for strong beasts is much higher. Zuzin muttered to himself, looking at the blue-grade material in his hand. Boar sinew, blue quality, a higher grade of beast sinew, used as material for crafting higher-level weapons, requiring 1 per weapon. Here it was, the higher grade sinew. Chapter 59, Mysterious Altar. Zuzin decided to use this beast tendon to make a blue-tier heavy crossbow. After all, his treehouse only had 1 heavy crossbow, and several directions lacked protection. But these pork. Zuzin had a headache. 3 pigs, totaling nearly 600 kilograms of pork. Even if he put it in his current blue-tier backpack, it would still weigh nearly 60 kilograms. His body could withstand the weight, but in this beast-infested jungle, heavy loads would significantly impair his performance, and adding this much weight would also be unbearable for the Silver King beneath him. He couldn't use the previous method now. Li Wenxi couldn't be in the treehouse now. Forget it, let's leave it here for now. Although it's easy for beasts to eat, it's not a big deal. Pork isn't exactly a prized possession. Zuzin flipped onto the wolf, and Keek also climbed onto the wolf's back. Zuzin looked at the map. Around the general vicinity of the blue glowing building, there were several bright red dots, not as bright as the brown bear Zuzin first encountered, but significantly brighter than wild boars and his mount, the Silver King. Could it be a tiger? The last time Zuzin came here, he saw a tiger. That large orange-yellow tiger made him break into a sweat back then. There were indeed tigers in his jungle. Even though compared to the previous brown bear, a tiger is just a 300-kilogram small creature, the agility and explosiveness of felines are undeniable, definitely the king among its weight class. Even if the Silver King grew to 300-400 kilograms, it wouldn't be a match for a tiger. Tigers and brown bears are the top predators in the jungle, basically leaving each other alone because they both know the other isn't easy to deal with. Even brown bears are cautious of tigers, and Zuzin has no intention of dealing with them now. Of course, an ordinary tiger naturally isn't a match for the massive brown bear he just encountered. On Earth, brown bear subspecies living alongside tigers weigh around 300-400 kilograms, which is why they don't interfere with each other. That big one earlier was tons in weight, undoubtedly the ruler of this jungle. But Zuzin doesn't believe the tigers in this world are ordinary tigers. He had to bypass those red dots. Felines mostly hunt using stealth, followed by a burst of speed. They won't chase if you run far enough in advance. Silver King, head in that direction. No need to rush, just go slowly. Zuzin instructed Silver King on the route, and Silver King let out a howl and proceeded at a leisurely pace. Zuzin didn't dare to take out the blue-tier resources anymore. After all, if he attracted a tiger, it would be over. Small animals occasionally darted by, but without the lure of blue-tier resources, these little animals wouldn't foolishly approach him. Zuzin's crossbow accuracy dropped significantly, but it was a good chance to practice moving targets. Whoosh! The crossbow bolt hit a rabbit leaping from the grass. Hunted a wild rabbit, points gained, 1 point. Zuzin dismounted the wolf, went over, skillfully pulled out the crossbow bolt and put it back in the quiver, then disassembled the rabbit and put it in the backpack. This was the 10th shot, only 3 hit, but despite the low hit rate, Zuzin was very satisfied. He's not a professional crossbowman, and this moving target hit rate was already high. No hunter hits every shot. Constantly keeping an eye on the map, Zuzin rode the Silver King through the bright red dots, getting closer and closer to the blue glowing stone pillars. At this distance, Zuzin could already see the statues on the stone pillars. These are beast statues? Silver King, increase your pace, let's head to the pillar's location. Howl. Silver King responded, instantly speeding up. In just a few seconds, they traversed the jungle, and the view opened up. The entire structure fully presented itself before Zhu Xin. It is indeed an altar. Zhu Xin muttered, looking at the structure before him. This altar occupied hundreds of square meters in the jungle, surrounded by the entire forest. The altar's floor wasn't dirt but paved with dark green bricks, with countless scratches, and the color turned somewhat dull under exposure to the elements, adding some age to it. The altar was square-shaped, with nearly a meter-thick stone pillars at each corner, each about 10 meters high, inscribed with peculiar patterns and topped with unique beast statues. In the center of the altar was a stone table with an uneven surface, with blood-red patterns on its sides, resembling veins, seemingly flowing slowly under the sunlight. Seeing these red patterns on the tabletop, Zhu Xin's heart skipped a beat. These patterns were very similar to the blood-red filaments on the vines earlier, reminding him of those underground creatures. This altar must be related to those creatures. Riding on the wolf's back wasn't ideal for dodging. Zhu Xin dismounted. Keek immediately jumped onto his shoulders. Keek, this altar, can you sense any danger? Zhu Xin asked Keek for input. Keek tilted its head, staring at the altar for a long time, seemingly puzzled, then nodded and finally shook its little head. Chirp. You can sense something unusual, but it's not dangerous to you, is that what you mean? Chirp. Keek's response was affirmative this time. Zhu Xin exhaled, choosing to trust Keek, steadied his nerves, and stepped into the altar's vicinity, stepping on its stone surface. Click. At the moment both his feet landed inside the altar, Zhu Xin seemed to hear a sound, very subtle, but it caught his tense attention. Seriously. Zhu Xin winced slightly at the corner of his eyes, hoping he hadn't triggered any mechanism. He swallowed, pulled an orange from his backpack, quickly ate it, and looked at the map, relieved as those bright red dots were not attracted by the orange. It seemed the range of attraction for blue-tier materials wasn't too large. Finishing the orange, Zhu Xin's mind cleared up considerably, the fatigue from earlier hunting vanished completely. Taking a deep breath, he crouched and touched the stone floor with his hand, but no prompt appeared. He approached one corner of the altar, where a bulky stone column stood, topped with a beast statue. The beast had a large body, sturdy short limbs, and two exaggeratedly large tusks, even longer than the statue's body. This is a wild boar statue? Despite the statue's imposing masculine and abstract design, Zhu Xin immediately recognized it as a wild boar. He glanced at the other three stone pillars, each topped with a different beast statue. Although the statues were all extravagant and abstract, Zhu Xin identified them as a wolf, a wildcat, and a rabbit. Looking back at the pillar before him, he reached out and touched it. The stone pillar was warm from the sun, and its surface was a bit rough. Altar stone pillar, blue quality. Deities will carve the required offerings on the pillar for the sacrificers to choose from. Deities. Offerings? These words made Zhu Xin's heart race. Indeed, when talking about an altar, there must be a sacrificial entity, which is this so-called deity. But why were the words deities in quotes in the description? Deities. Zhu Xin thought of that mysterious voice in his mind. Could it be this mysterious voice? Or? Zhu Xin looked towards the stone table in the center. The bloody patterns seemed more vivid. Or are they the creatures underground? Who exactly is this altar dedicated to? Chapter 60. The altar with blood-red patterns. Previously on the hill, Zhu Xin had seen these statues on the stone pillars undergo changes. Could it be because the demands of the gods are changing? Zhu Xin withdrew his hand from the stone pillar. He felt the stone pillar was hot, which did not seem to be due to sunlight, as Zhu Xin's hand was touching the shaded side of the pillar, not the side exposed to the sun. He took a few steps back, warily eyeing the stone pillar in front of him. Ying? Keek on his shoulder was a bit puzzled. It didn't sense any danger. Zhu Xin looked at Silver King beside him and found that Silver King's body was trembling slightly. What's wrong, Silver King? Are you very scared? Uh-oh. Silver King let out a weak whimper, its voice trembling slightly. Zhu Xin patted Silver King on the head. You'd better go outside the altar for now. Whoa. Receiving the order, Silver King howled once and leaped 3 or 4 meters directly outside the altar. Silver King's intense reaction even made Zhu Xin a bit apprehensive. Zhu Xin glanced at Keek on his shoulder. Aren't you scared, Keek? Ying. Keek shook its head. Zhu Xin lowered his head in thought. This was an altar for sacrificing beasts, and one of the stone pillars had a wolf statue. It seemed that Silver King was indeed a type of sacrificial offering. No wonder it was so afraid. Turning to look at the stone table in the center of the altar, Zhu Xin decided to go over and take a look. Zhu Xin quickly walked to the edge of the stone table, always keeping an eye on the map for any changes, but nothing dangerous happened along the way, nor did any monsters suddenly emerge from the ground. He arrived safely. This stone table was about half a meter high and very large, as big as a bed. enough to hold several wild boars. Zuzin reached out and touched the stone table. Unlike the pillar, the stone table remained incredibly cold under the blazing sun, like a block of ice, causing Zuzin's hand to shrink back from the cold. Altar sacrificial table, blue quality, offering sufficient sacrifices will gain the god's attention, again with these quoted gods. What does this attention mean? Zuzin looked at the statues on the surrounding stone pillars, weighed the pros and cons, and finally decided to offer sacrifices according to the god's demands. He didn't know what this so-called god was, but since it was a sacrifice, naturally one would gain something in return. Throughout history, the purpose of sacrifices was to gain something from the gods, so presumably, this altar was the same. Moreover, the current task was hunting, and it was an excellent opportunity to complete the hunting activity while offering sacrifices at the altar. The 4 statues were a wild boar, a wolf, a wild cat, and a rabbit. Zuzin had hunted a wild boar and many wild rabbits on the way here, but unfortunately, they had already been disassembled by him. After thinking for a bit, Zuzin took out the 10 or so kilograms of rabbit meat from his backpack, obtained from dissecting those wild rabbits, and placed it on the altar. He wondered if just rabbit meat would suffice. Suddenly, Zuzin felt the temperature in front of him drop. The stone table emitted a faint coolness, causing him to instinctively take a step back, grasping his stone spear tightly. The stone table began to change, making Zuzin's eyelids twitch as he stared unblinkingly at what was happening before him. Under Zuzin's watchful gaze, the blood-red pattern on the side of the stone table suddenly became more vivid. The originally side-only blood-red pattern seemed to come to life, spreading towards the top of the table. Ying! Keek was startled, clutching Zuzin's shoulder and hiding behind him, peeking out with just a little head to watch the altar's sacrificial table. The speed at which the blood-red patterns spread was not fast, but there were many patterns, like countless blood-like worms crawling from all sides of the table towards the pile of rabbit meat in the center, and then, a surprising scene occurred. The blood-red patterns on the table climbed directly onto the rabbit meat. These blood-like strings were alive. The rabbit meat slowly became covered with blood-red patterns under Zuzin's watchful eyes, getting dyed completely blood-red by the patterns with more than 10 kilograms of rabbit meat, which then began to shrivel at a visibly rapid pace. Finally, the rabbit meat disappeared entirely, and the patterns on the rabbit meat fell back onto the table, scattering towards the sides and returning to the patterns carved on the side, dimming once more. Throughout this process, Zuzin didn't dare to make any noise, just holding tightly onto his stone spear, thinking more than once about stabbing the blood-red patterns on the table, but ultimately reason overpowered impulse. The anomaly on the stone table had ceased, and the temperature around Zuzin gradually rose under the sunlight. What the hell is this thing? Zuzin felt this was incredibly eerie. He waited for a long time, but the sacrificial table had merely devoured his rabbit meat, and nothing else had happened. What's going on? Could it be that the sacrifices were not enough? Zuzin recalled that the introduction mentioned sufficient sacrifices. Ying! Keek tugged at the leather armor on Zuzin. Following the direction Keek pointed, Zuzin looked towards the base of the stone pillar carved with a rabbit. To his astonishment, among the total of 10-meter-high, flower pattern pillars, a few centimeters near the base were already dyed blood red. What does this mean, the progress of the sacrifice? Zuzin looked around at the surrounding stone pillars and found that only the stone pillar below the rabbit statue had been colored blood red for a few centimeters. Does this mean it wants me to dye all 4 of these pillars red? Zuzin's eyelid twitched. This would be a massive undertaking. The rabbit meat just now was all from hunting 5 rabbits, and it only turned a few centimeters red. If he needed to dye the entire 10-meter-high pillar red, that would require a ton of rabbit meat. And that's just one pillar. Wait, it shouldn't be that much. He only put rabbit meat on it, not a whole rabbit. But if it were a whole rabbit? Hold on. Zuzin suddenly realized these statues had another significance. From the first glance, he felt these statues were overly exaggerated because certain parts of the beast statues were absurdly magnified to ridiculous proportions. The wild boar statue's tusks were immensely huge and curved, longer than the entire body of the boar itself. Does this mean the tusks were the most suitable offering from the wild boar? Zuzin walked to the stone pillar with the rabbit statue. A wave of heat hit him. This pillar, unlike the sacrificial table, emitted heat. This statue was also quite exaggerated. An originally cute rabbit appeared fierce in the statue, eyes bulging, teeth bared, as if howling to the sky, and the rabbit ears, which should have been the rabbit's cutest parts, now resembled 2 sharp swords, straight on the rabbit's back, longer than the body itself. Rabbit ears? The special part of the rabbit statue is its ears? Zuzin then looked at the wolf and cat statues. The exaggerated part of the wolf was its fangs, more extreme than those of a saber-toothed tiger, almost piercing its paws. For the cat, It was the claws of the front paws, with the long claws draping over one side of the stone pillar, even piercing directly into the pillar itself. Boar tusks, rabbit ears, wolf's sharp teeth, and cat's claws. These parts appear exaggerated on the statues. Could it be these parts are the true offerings? Zuzin muttered to himself. But he had dissected these 4 types of animals and never acquired these parts as materials. Am I supposed to cut it with ordinary tools, or should I offer the whole entity? Zuzin felt something was not right. He believed there must be something he hadn't discovered yet, so he started searching around the sacrificial table. Sure enough, beneath the middle section of the sacrificial table's edge, there was a pattern that seemed out of place. Zuzin jabbed at it with his stone spear, pressing it down. Retrieving the spear, the recessed piece immediately popped back out, like a stone drawer. Inside the drawer lay a small knife with a black blade and a blood-red edge. Zuzin hesitated for a moment but eventually reached out to pick up the small knife. Sacrificial knife, blue quality, a small knife needed for extracting sacrificial materials. Sacrificial knife, blue quality, a small knife needed for extracting sacrificial materials. Remember to return it to the altar once done, or the gods will be angry. This is it. His hypothesis was indeed correct. Chapter 61, Acquiring Sacrifices. This small knife is pitch black throughout, but the blade is blood red, as if dyed by fresh blood. Zuzin held the knife in his hand. It was heavy. This knife was made of some kind of metal. He didn't know what metal it was, but it was undeniably heavy. Despite being about the same size as a boning knife, its weight felt at least 5 times that to Zuzin. This metal must be high grade. If he had the ability to restore tools to raw materials, he really wanted to break down this knife into a block of metal so he could unlock the blueprint for making this metal. Wishful thinking, this knife undoubtedly has to be returned, at least for now. He didn't even have the courage to face a tiger, let alone this so-called god. Speaking of which, do tigers count as big cats? They should be one of the sacrifices, right? The few tigers circling nearby didn't approach the altar, probably because they feared it. Not thinking too much now, it's time to hunt wild boars, wolves, cats, and rabbits. Zuzin suddenly remembered the wild boar meat he hunted, left in the wild, wondering if it had been scavenged. Why not bring it directly to the altar? Although it's not a wild boar tusk, it could still progress the wild boar stone pillar somewhat. Zuzin walked out of the altar's range. Silver King was waiting at the edge. Zuzin couldn't help but glance at his wolf fangs. Speaking of which, hunting its kind while riding on Silver King seemed a bit inappropriate. In just a few minutes, Zuzin rode Silver King back and forth. He placed the pork from 3 wild boars on the offering table. The previous scene occurred again, and this time Zuzin observed the changes on the side of the stone table, finding that even if red patterns flowed onto the table surface, the red on the side did not dim even slightly. Soon, the pork on the offering table also disappeared. Zuzin looked at the stone pillar of the wild boar statue, and this time the increase was quite significant, rising about half a meter. The stone pillar of the wild boar statue emitted an overwhelming heat, feeling like a stone pillar-shaped furnace. I wonder what will happen when the entire stone pillar is soaked in red. Zuzin muttered to himself, walked out of the altar, mounted Silver King who was waiting by the altar, and continued hunting. He observed the map, bypassing those bright red dots, roaming the periphery of this resources-rich area within the hills. Another rabbit sprang out from the grass. Zuzin, quick-eyed and deft, dispatched it with a crossbow bolt. Holding the rabbit by its 2 ears, Zuzin pulled out the black and red knife. How is this supposed to be used? Zuzin thought for a moment. The special thing on the rabbit was its ears, so he sliced at the rabbit's ear base. The knife didn't appear very sharp but effortlessly and smoothly severed the rabbit ears from the body, inexplicably causing no bleeding. Rabbit ear offering, green quality, one of the primary offerings to gods. A rabbit could yield 2 rabbit ear offerings. Zuzin examined the cut below the rabbit ears, discovering it had already healed. He sliced the rabbit's body a few more times with the specialist knife, realizing that this knife couldn't damage other parts, or even make a cut. It seems this is a tool solely for harvesting offerings. Zuzin stored the earless rabbit carcass and ears in his backpack and continued on his hunt. Silver King ran with incredible speed, combined with Zuzin's map which marked beast locations, resulting in high hunting efficiency. Hunted rabbit, gained points, 1. Hunted venomous snake, gained points, 5. Hunted wild fox, gained points, 3. Moving forward, Zuzin's crossbow was constantly in use, felling numerous small game, while the points accumulated steadily. He glanced at the map, surprised to find that, whether around the treehouse or his current location, the red dots hadn't decreased due to hunting, but seemed to be increasing. What does this mean? Someone is releasing beasts into the forest. Looks like I shouldn't hold back either. Too many beasts could cause survival issues within the forest. The crossbow in Zhu Xin's hand kept working relentlessly. Silver King, stop! Zhu Xin suddenly whispered. Zhu Xin spotted another type of offering animal nearby. A wildcat. Zhu Xin had hunted wildcats before, around the same size as Keek, but this one wasn't small. This wildcat is a really big, Zhu Xin mused, probably around 30 kilograms. This already categorized as a medium-sized feline like a lynx or caracal but appearing like a regular domestic cat from Earth. It seems small felines in this jungle can grow this large. The wildcat, bowing its head, was feasting on a bird with white feathers it had just caught. The already dead bird wasn't much smaller than the cat, its feathers plucked and scattered all around. Feathers. In fact, Zhu Xin had raised cats at home. He really liked feline animals, and felt some reluctance in shooting cats. But feathers are valuable, such waste is improper, better to kill it. Pulling out his crossbow, Zhu Xin shot an arrow at the distant cat. The feline, agile as it was, seemingly heard the twang of the bowstring. While eating, it leapt in place, turning a fatal arrow wound only into an injury on its hind leg, as it embedded with a thud into the tree trunk behind. The wildcat let out a scream, collapsed to the ground. Its hind leg already broken, it hissed a warning at the wolf riding Zhu Xin while futilely dragging back with its forepaw and other hind leg. Zhu Xin hesitated not, firing another arrow, ending the cat's life. May the cat star have no crossbows. Lucky the forepaw wasn't hurt earlier. Zhu Xin took out the altar knife, swiftly severing the wildcat's forepaw. Cat paw offering, green quality, one of the primary offerings to gods. After being cut off, there wasn't a trace of blood on the cat paw. Decomposing the wildcat's body and storing it in the backpack, Zhu Xin moved on. As he hunted, he approached the lake within this resources-rich zone, seeing the sunlit rippling water through the forest gaps. Zhu Xin, riding the wolf, emerged from the forest by the lake. This lake, bigger than the one near his treehouse, was much more vibrant with many wild animals drinking at the water's edge. Keek, Silver King, don't make any noise. Zhu Xin feared scaring these wild grazing animals away. Yip. Howl. Keek and Silver King softly responded. The map showed few dense red dots at this lake's center, meaning there were no piranha schools here. Why is it only the lake by my treehouse has piranhas? Coincidence? Zhu Xin frowned. Or did a giant boa bring them? Perhaps, that giant boa was attracted by my treehouse. Though the lake's center lacked red dots, the outskirts held a few brighter red spots, brighter than piranhas. Before Zhu Xin could ponder what the dots were, a calm lake shore suddenly burst with a large crocodile, biting a water-drinking deer by the neck, whipping its head to throw the whole deer into the lake. Yip. Keek gave a frightened yelp. Zhu Xin's pupils constricted. It's a crocodile. At the waterside, panicked animals fled, while the thrown-in deer flailed desperately with little effect. The crocodile performed several death rolls, spreading blood, the water's surface gradually returning to calm. There are crocodiles in this lake. Zhu Xin suddenly thought of something, pondering, I wonder about the connection between the giant crocodile in that creek and these crocs. Chapter 62 Rabbit Statue. Zhu Xin didn't linger by the lake for long. Some beasts by the lake were scared away by the crocodiles in the water. He circled the lake and found no new advanced materials, so he continued focusing on hunting. The current coordination between Zhu Xin and the Silver King was impeccable. With the map's hints and Keek's guidance, the beasts' positions were untraceable, and those small animals hiding motionless in the grass were actually easier for Zhu Xin to hit than moving targets. His efficiency was unmatched by other survivors. Before dark, Zhu Xin had already hunted 18 wild rabbits, 7 wild cats, 2 wild boars, and various other animals. He didn't provoke the wolf pack for now, mainly because taking the Silver King to hunt wolves always felt like it might rebel, and facing a large wolf pack head-on was not an easy task. Zhu Xin held a black blood-bladed knife, separating the tusks of the wild boar in front of him from its body. The wild boar's tusks were like tofu under the ultra knife. Zhu Xin didn't even need to exert force to separate them. Then his eyes lit up. Boar tusk sacrifice, blue quality, one of the advanced offerings used to sacrifice to the god, advanced offering. However, he was somewhat disappointed that of the 2 tusks of this wild boar, only one was a blue-grade offering. This was the 3rd wild boar Zhu Xin had hunted. The previous 2 also yielded 4 tusk offerings, but they were all green-grade. After dismantling the boar's body and putting it into his backpack, Zhu Xin looked up at the sky, where the sunset in the west heralded the approaching night. Better sacrifice these offerings first. Riding the wolf to the altar, the Silver King still dared not enter. Zhu Xin had it wait outside the altar while Keek jumped onto his shoulder. Crack. As he stepped onto the altar, Zhu Xin heard a slight sound again. This time he heard it more clearly. The sound came from below the ground. Is there some mechanism under the altar? Zhu Xin squinted his eyes. At the sacrificial table, Zhu Xin first took out a rabbit ear offering, and placed it on the sacrificial table. An even colder chill than wind, he placed rabbit meat before spread out from the sacrificial table. This time Zuzin didn't retreat but stared intently at the changes on the sacrificial table while paying attention to the stone pillar with the rabbit statue on the side. The patterns around the sacrificial table began to move. Under Zuzin's watchful eyes, those blood-red patterns did not slowly creep towards the offerings like before but shone brightly, rapidly spreading to the center of the sacrificial table, enveloping the entire offering. The blood packet deflated within seconds, and in Zuzin's peripheral vision, the blood-red color at the base of the rabbit statue's stone pillar quickly spread upwards, with the ordinary pattern being stained with blood red. Just one offering stained over 20 centimeters of the entire stone pillar with blood red. And the patterns on the stone sacrificial table retreated slowly to the edge with dimmed lights. Zuzin had hunted 18 wild rabbits, totaling 36 rabbit ear offerings. He pondered for a moment and decided to place all the remaining 35 on the table. The cold wind roared, and blood red spread. Soon, all the offerings disappeared, and the rabbit statue's stone pillar was completely dyed red. Even most of the rabbit statue was covered in red. Blood red patterns covered the rabbit statue, looking eerie yet with a strange beauty. The stone pillar emitted intense heat, and after the coldness of the sacrificial table faded, the heat from the stone pillar hit Zuzin, making him feel like he was taking a sauna. The patterns on the stone pillar reminded him of the underworld's vines, those tendrils all covered with blood stripe-like patterns. His eyelids twitched, and Zuzin had a bad feeling. Could it be? He was unsure about his guess. Looking at the statue with only a small part left unstained, Zuzin gritted his teeth, took out all the rabbit meat from his backpack, and placed it on the sacrificial table. Blood red spread once more, slowly this time. Zuzin backed away from the central sacrificial table and the stone pillar with the eerie rabbit carving, keeping a keen eye on the last unstained section. On the statue, blood red patterns slowly crept upward, and finally, the rabbit statue was entirely covered with the pattern. Ying ying ying. Keek suddenly became agitated, its little paw pointing at the rabbit statue on the stone pillar, constantly tugging at Zuzin's clothes. Danger? Zuzin asked, keeping his eyes fixed on the rabbit statue. Ying. Keek nodded vigorously on his shoulder. Damn it. Don't tell me I guessed it right. Zuzin retreated, backing all the way out of the altar to where the Silver King was, nervously watching that statue. Several seconds, tens of seconds, a minute passed. Zuzin held a crossbow, not daring to act rashly. Apart from the constant heat emitted by the stone pillar, the inside of the altar was extremely quiet. Just as Zuzin heaved a sigh of relief, thinking nothing would happen, a sudden change occurred. The blood-red patterns on the rabbit statue's stone pillar suddenly flared up, and Zuzin heard the cracking sound of stone breaking. The blood-red light followed the patterns, emanating from the statue's interior and bathing the entire altar in a red glow. Damn it, so it's like this. Zuzin cursed silently. From the moment he saw the blood-red patterns start appearing on the statue, something felt amiss. He had a premonition that once these patterns fully enveloped the statue, it would transform into a monster. These red patterns were closely connected to those in the underworld, possibly some mysterious force or a special virus or bacteria mutating ordinary creatures. Zuzin immediately pulled out his blue-gray iron armor from his backpack and put it on. For a higher hunting success rate, he had been wearing leather armor all along. The cracks on the statue widened, and the blood-red light shooting out from inside became more intense. Suddenly, Zuzin's watch vibrated. He glanced at it. It was a message from Jikang. Zuzin, don't offer sacrifices to the altar, those stone sculptures will come to life. What a coincidence. Jikang was indeed a well-meaning expert, but unfortunately. Zuzin smiled bitterly, gazing at the slowly fracturing statue, and spoke into his watch. You're too late, it's already alive. The statue's fragments fell from the stone pillar, revealing patches of red and white fur. Finally, with a loud explosion, the rabbit statue shattered completely, and a rabbit as large as a pig, identical to the statue, stood on the stone pillar. Honestly, seeing the rabbit's size slightly calmed Zuzin's initially panicked mind. Though the blood pattern rabbit was much larger than an ordinary rabbit, it was only bear or wild boar sized, perhaps even smaller. Zuzin felt he could still handle it. On the map, the brightness of the blood pattern rabbit's red dot was just a bit higher than that of a black bear or wild boar, not reaching the brightness of brown bears or tigers. The blood pattern rabbit turned its gaze towards Zuzin, its red eyes flashing with eerie light, its mouth slightly open, emitting a sharp, unpleasant grinding sound. Strike first. Zuzin raised his hand and fired the already loaded ordinary crossbow bolt. Just as the bolt was about to hit the rabbit suddenly kicked off the pillar, leaping into the air with incredible speed like a missile launching from the ground. The crossbow bolt passed through where the blood pattern rabbit originally stood, disappearing into the forest. This Zhu Xin's pupil shrank as he quickly drew a poisoned bolt from his quiver and loaded it. As soon as he finished loading, the rabbit descended from midair. Boom! With a loud thud, the rabbit landed mere meters in front of Zhu Xin, its upright body about 1.5 meters tall, its red eyes coldly locking with Zhu Xin's, issuing continuous, piercing grinding sounds from its mouth, and its sword-like ears stood erect, seemingly ready to slash down at any moment. And as the rabbit landed, Zhu Xin immediately aimed the crossbow at the rabbit's head and pulled the trigger. Chapter 63, Fierce Battle with a Blood-Pattern Rabbit. The crossbow bolt shot straight towards the Blood-Pattern Rabbit's forehead just as it was landing, unable to jump away in time. The Blood-Pattern Rabbit's eyes met Zhu Xin's, and the venomous arrow was already before its eyes. The venomous arrow pierced in just as the rabbit's shrill scream echoed, the iron arrowhead of the bolt stabbing into the rabbit's head, causing it to tilt back. Silver King, go. Zhu Xin didn't think a little snake venom would have a significant effect on these monsters. While commanding Silver King, he strode forward with a stone spear, thrusting directly towards the Blood-Pattern Rabbit's body. The Blood-Pattern Rabbit was still inside the altar. Silver King was somewhat afraid of the altar, but with its master Zhu Xin already advancing, it naturally couldn't retreat. With a wolf howl, it pounced directly. However, both the man and the wolf hit nothing but air. The Blood-Pattern Rabbit reacted extremely fast, kicking its legs back and jumping several meters, dodging Zhu Xin's stone spear and Silver King's claws. The venomous arrow was still lodged in the Blood-Pattern Rabbit's forehead. With a brushing motion on the ground, it forcibly pulled out the fully embedded arrowhead from its flesh. Its sword-sharp ears scratched 2 deep marks on the stone ground, red blood seeping from the forehead wound. The venomous arrow seemed to only slow the rabbit's movements momentarily before losing its effect. Glancing at the 2 marks on the ground, Zhu Xin squinted slightly. Those ears are so sharp. He gripped the stone spear tightly, the tip always facing the direction of the Blood-Pattern Rabbit. Suddenly, the Blood-Pattern Rabbit made a big leap, rising into the air and disappearing into the forest behind Zhu Xin. With the rabbit out of sight, Zhu Xin immediately felt a bit tense. What's happening? Did it run? He checked the map and saw the red dot representing the Blood-Pattern Rabbit erratically darting around the altar, even stirring up those few red dots Zhu Xin had been avoiding. From the forest came the rumbling roar of a tiger, along with the Blood-Pattern Rabbit's shrill scream. Following this, Zhu Xin saw a huge Blood-Pattern Rabbit suddenly spring into the sky overhead. Looks like the Blood-Pattern Rabbit isn't a match for the tiger in a head-on fight. Zhu Xin's heart slightly eased, realizing the rabbit's strength wasn't that formidable, which made sense as a rabbit was relatively weak among the 4 pillars here. He knew this creature was extremely fast and killing it wouldn't be easy, but ignoring it might lead to unknown troubles in the forest from such a peculiar creature. The rabbit's screams and tiger roars were drawing nearer. Zhu Xin's face changed. Could this wretched rabbit be leading the tiger over here? Zhu Xin quickly mounted Silver King, ready to flee if things went south. Although the tiger was fast with explosive power, it lacked endurance. If it really chased this way, it would likely be exhausted, allowing Zhu Xin to ride away on Silver King without issue, maybe even have a chance to take down the panting tiger. Tigers rely on explosive ambushes for hunting. If an ambush fails, they usually don't continue the chase. Zhu Xin checked the map and found the tiger gave up the chase after just a few steps, finally exhaling in relief. Ying! Keek pointed in a direction and cried out. Zhu Xin checked the map and found the rabbit's red dot rapidly moving toward the altar from that direction. Get behind that tree. Zhu Xin pointed to a tree on the edge. Silver King leaped over in a single bound, hiding behind it. Keek, you hide in the tree. Ying! Keek jumped into the tree in a few swift moves. Zhu Xin gripped the stone spear tightly, eyes fixed on the map. As the red dot approached, he suddenly appeared, thrusting the stone spear fiercely at the approaching Blood-Pattern Rabbit. The Blood-Pattern Rabbit was fast, unable to halt in time, only managing to avoid critical areas as it screamed and collided with the stone spear's sharp tip. Pachi! The stone spear, aided by the rabbit's speed, easily pierced through the right side of the Blood-Pattern Rabbit, impaling it on the spear. Silver King seized the chance, pouncing to bite the rabbit's neck. The Blood-Pattern Rabbit shrieked in pain, its sword-like ears suddenly slicing towards Silver King. Silver King! Zhu Xin yanked the stone spear from the rabbit's body, blood gushing from the wound. The rabbit's movement froze, and Silver King withdrew its fight, dodging the attack, leaving 2 deep blood holes on the rabbit's neck, blood spurting out. The rabbit's eyes turned even redder, its red and white fur standing on end. Instead of fleeing, it maneuvered its ears to strike at Zhu Xin. Zhu Xin raised his stone spear to block the strike, but the wooden spear handle only delayed the rabbiteer's attack momentarily before being cut into 3 pieces. He quickly retreated to dodge, yet the rabbiteer still etched 2 shallow lines on his iron armor, continuing their assault. Silver King seized the opportunity, charging to knock the Blood-Pattern Rabbit off balance. Well done. Zhu Xin drew the ultra knife, slicing at the rabbit's ear. There was little resistance as the ear was sliced into two by the black-red knife. Half of the rabbit ear fell to the ground, and the blood-patterned rabbit let out a piercing scream. The smell of blood made its already red eyes even redder, with the severed ear and the other shaking wildly. It showed no intention of running, starting to circle Zhu Xin rapidly, looking for a chance to pounce. Though wearing blue-grade iron armor, Zhu Xin dared not be careless. The rabbit's ears were incredibly sharp, merely scraping the edge left 2 marks on his armor. A direct strike might really cut through. The rabbit was extremely fast, and Zhu Xin couldn't predict which direction it would attack from. Gritting his teeth, he decided to take a risk, using his iron armor and blue-grade hemostatic herbs as insurance. Even seriously injured, he could recover. The blood-patterned rabbit, already covered in injuries, left a trail of blood around Zhu Xin as it moved quickly. He knew it was at its limits, yet he couldn't underestimate the power a desperate beast could unleash. Holding a broken spearhead and a black-red knife, he suddenly stepped forward. As if detecting Zhu Xin's flaw, the blood-patterned rabbit, revolving around him, suddenly kicked back, leaping at him, its remaining ear like a sharp sword stabbing straight at him. Zhu Xin anticipated the rabbit's move, gaining a fraction of a second to react, but couldn't completely evade such a swift attack. He could only avoid critical areas, pointing the broken spear at the charging rabbit. The sword-like ear struck Zhu Xin's iron armor. The armor only stalled it momentarily before the ear pierced through, stabbing into Zhu Xin's right shoulder. Despite the transient hindrance from the armor, it granted Zhu Xin enough time to react. His left hand wielded the black-red knife, slashing upward at the rabbit ear. The severe pain in his shoulder intensified his grip. Die already. Zhu Xin slashed hard, severing the remaining rabbit ear instantly. The blood-patterned rabbit stumbled, its piercing scream cut short by the sharp spearhead and Silver King's razor-sharp teeth. The scream ceased abruptly, the rabbit collapsed on the ground, blood spraying from its neck, with a broken spearhead lodged in its head. Chapter 64, Treating Injuries. Looking at the blood-patterned rabbit already lying on the ground, Zhu Xin gasped heavily. He didn't dare to relax just yet, pulling out his crossbow and shooting another arrow at the rabbit's head, then drew his broken spear and jabbed it several more times. Killed a polluted mutant wild rabbit, earned points, 500 points, an enigmatic voice rang out, and Zhu Xin breathed a sigh of relief, only to be stunned by the points. 500 points? Zhu Xin was somewhat shocked. That's so many. Zhu Xin had been busy hunting all day today, taking advantage of the map and Keek's guidance, achieving an efficiency far from ordinary. He was either hunting or on the way to hunt. Yet, even so, he only accumulated 364 points in total, while this one mutant rabbit alone was worth 500 high points. Judging by the intensity of the red dots, this mutant rabbit wasn't as strong as a tiger, and its points were already 10 times that of Silver King. It couldn't be that a tiger's points were over 10 times that of a 200 kilograms Wolf King, right? No wonder Ji Qiang had sent him a message, advising against offerings. This big shot must have killed one already and, besides warning him about the danger, perhaps didn't want him to score so many points and stay ahead. Or maybe he was just being paranoid. Forget it, there's no need to think about this. Zhu Xin focused his attention back on the mutant rabbit. A polluted mutant rabbit. He offered a sacrifice at the deity altar and ended up creating a polluted monster. Zhu Xin suddenly thought of the soil near the underground world's entrance, called polluted soil, gray quality, which like this rabbit, bore a slight red hue, both polluted. This event, such an animal should not have appeared, as this altar seems to randomly appear 3 kilometers outside the current treehouse range. For now, it seems only he and Ji Qiang have the ability to summon this kind of polluted animal through sacrifices at the altar. Killing a polluted rabbit can earn so many points, could it be? These polluted animals are what that mysterious voice truly intends for us to hunt, our true enemies on land? Zhu Xin pondered while pulling out a boning knife, wanting to dissect the rabbit's body to see what good things he might obtain. However, at this moment, the pain-masking effect of the adrenaline from the intense battle wore off, and Zhu Xin suddenly felt a sharp pain in his left shoulder, making him involuntarily inhale sharply and clench his teeth. Silver King and Keek had already come to him while he was contemplating, looking at him worriedly. Keek didn't dare to climb onto his shoulder but instead tugged at his bent leg, looking at his shoulder pierced by rabbit ears, making weak whimpering sounds. Currently, the rabbit ear was still embedded in Zhu Xin's shoulder, piercing through his armor and penetrating his shoulder, pressing against the back of the armor. Since it hadn't been pulled out yet, not much blood had flowed from the wound. But Zhu Xin didn't dare to pull it out easily. He knew that if he did, it might bleed profusely. This rabbit ear, with its nearly 5 centimeters of width and nearly 1 centimeter of thickness, was no different from being penetrated by a sword. Zhu Xin forced a smile at Keek and Silver King. Don't worry, I'm fine, I have a healing herb. He fetched a hemostatic grass, blue quality, from his backpack. When he considered using a feint to deal with this rabbit, he knew he'd get hurt, but he never worried due to the hemostatic grass, blue quality, in his possession. Hemostatic grass, blue quality, a divine herb that can quickly heal severe injuries. Cannot regenerate limbs and organs. This thing wasn't for ingestion, as the green-grade hemostatic grass was ground and applied to the wound. Zhu Xin checked the map first. Due to the altar's peculiarity, there were no beasts in the immediate vicinity, only a few tigers wandering relatively far away. He was relieved, found 2 stones, and ground the hemostatic grass. Zhu Xin held the rabbit ear, gritted his teeth, took a deep breath, and forcefully pulled out the rabbit ear. He felt blood gushing inside his armor, swiftly removed it. Zhu Xin was wearing the newbie 2-piece under his armor, which did not hinder the exposure of the wound. A penetrating wound, even through the bone, was quite severe and was bleeding continuously. If left untreated, it might lead to excessive blood loss. Mutant rabbit's ear, blue quality, material for weapon crafting, can substitute metal blocks. Weapons crafted from it are extremely durable and sharp. This rabbit ear embedded in his body turned out to be weapon material. Zhu Xin, not having time to be happy, put the rabbit ear into his backpack. Blood began to ooze from the wound, and he quickly applied the ground hemostatic grass to it. An intensely itchy sensation emerged from the wound, making Zhu Xin's body tense up. He resisted the urge to scratch, as he and the panda cub and wolf stared directly at the wound on his left shoulder. They watched as the wound healed at a rate visible to the naked eye, eventually closing up entirely. The itching sensation completely disappeared. Zhu Xin touched the wound and tried moving his arm, finding no abnormality. This is truly a divine herb, Zhu Xin said while rotating his arm. This blue-grade hemostatic grass is too strong. It's a pity I haven't seen any after visiting so many places. I have to get some more from that guy next time. Yep. Keek looked at Zhu Xin's completely healed injury, eyes full of confusion. Alright Keek, I've fully recovered. You can climb up if you want. Yep. Though Keek didn't understand why Zhu Xin recovered so quickly, hearing he was fully healed made it happily chirp, climbing onto Zhu Xin's uninjured shoulder while still curiously peeking at his other shoulder. Once the injury was treated, Zhu Xin picked up the other rabbit ear he had cut off, which was also a blue-grade material. He placed the rabbit ear into his backpack and then began to examine the rabbit's corpse on the ground. The blood patterns on the corpse had become a deep red, like congealed blood, no longer as vibrant as when it was alive. Drawing out the boning knife, Zhu Xin proceeded to dissect the rabbit, which was as large as a small pig. Gained, a mutant rabbit hide, blue quality. Gained, a mutant rabbit tendon, blue quality. Gained, a mutant rabbit bone, blue quality. Gained, 40 kilograms of polluted mutant rabbit meat, gray quality, 3 blue-grade materials. Including the 2 rabbit ears, a total of 5 blue-grade materials. Zhu Xin felt the wound he suffered was absolutely worth it. But this rabbit meat, why is it gray-grade? The rabbit meat was also covered with red patterns, the red deeply ingrained in the meat. Polluted mutant rabbit meat, gray quality, highly toxic, fatally attractive to beasts. Consumption likely leads to immediate death, and the corpse becomes unusable due to pollution, with a slight chance of mutation. Hiss. Zhu Xin gasped. This is a source of pollution capable of creating mutant beasts? Though unlikely, but still. Silver King and Keek, upon seeing the mutant rabbit meat cut out by Zhu Xin, stared intently at it. When Zhu Xin picked it up, Keek whimpered, tugging his clothes, while Silver King tilted its head, drool dribbling from its mouth. This absolutely cannot be eaten, it's highly toxic. It's meant to lure fools like you and poison you. Seeing both Keek and Silver King drawn in, Zhu Xin became alert and sternly warned the 2 beasts. Hearing Zhu Xin's words, Keek and Silver King shrank their heads back, reluctantly tearing their gaze away from the blood-patterned meat. Zhu Xin even felt reluctant to put it with his other stuff in the backpack but thought about its attractiveness to beasts, resisting the discomfort and quickly stored it. This thing might be useful someday, but unless absolutely necessary, it must not be fed to other beasts, as it would not only waste the materials but might even create stronger monsters. A single mutant rabbit was almost beyond him, let alone other mutant beasts. Speaking of which, if other beasts eat this meat and die, will their meat also become this polluted meat? Chapter 65, A Day's Harvest. After tidying everything up, Zhu Xin walked to the altar table and placed the other offerings in his hand onto the altar. A gust of ominous wind arose, and the blood-red color spread once more. The blood hue from the cat statue pillars and boar statue pillars began to climb from the base upwards, gradually dyeing the patterns on the pillars. The blood color spread over most of the cat statue pillar, while it extended over only half of the boar statue pillar. The rabbit statue pillar, however, was completely dyed in red. Compared to the patterns beside the altar, the patterns on the pillar resembled solidified blood and appeared bleak. The pillar stood empty, as if indicating that this part of the sacrifice was complete. Zuzin glanced at the sky. It was pretty much dark already, and nightfall was imminent. Even though Zuzin had night vision capability, his current physical exhaustion had reached its pinnacle, necessitating a return for rest. Before leaving, Zuzin caught a glance at the spot on the altar's stone brick scratched by the blood-patterned rabbit's ear and was startled to discover that it had already reverted to its original state, retaining its age-worn ruggedness, yet the deep scratch had vanished. Can this altar self-repair? Zuzin swallowed his spit in anxiety. Could it be a living entity? With a shake of his head, he immediately dismissed the thought. Impossible, impossible, how can stone be alive? Yet, the more he thought about it, the more unsettling it seemed. He quickly mounted Silver King and left the eerie altar. From a distance, Zuzin turned back for a look. Through the gaps in the forest, he could still see the pillar overwhelmed by dark red patterns, standing among the trees. Despite the fatigue, Zuzin was active on the road, as no one finds too many points superfluous. He shot and killed numerous small beasts along the way, finally reaching the front of the treehouse. However, upon arriving in front of the treehouse, he was shocked. A chaotic area was apparent around the treehouse, with a crossbow arrow stuck in the ground, another lodged in a tree trunk, and a third one lying beside scattered wooden materials. On the trunk of a poplar tree, there was a large bird with black feathers pinned by a heavy crossbow arrow through its wing. Its wing was blood-stained, surrounded by scattered feathers, indicating a struggle it endured after being pinned by the crossbow. Zuzin mentally reconstructed the scenario at the time. This large bird flew low over the treehouse and was immediately locked on by the heavy crossbow. Although it was too fast for a direct hit, the crossfire frightened it, causing it to crash into the forest. After several attempts to evade, it was eventually pinned to the tree trunk by a crossbow arrow, where it struggled fiercely but in vain, only to endure more pain and continuous bleeding, ultimately hanging there helplessly. As Zuzin rode the wolf forward and saw the full picture of the bird pinned to the trunk, he was a bit surprised. Oh, isn't his an eagle? Was it trying to catch fish from the lake? The bird pinned to the trunk had jet black feathers, except for its white head. Its bright yellow beak curved downward, extremely sharp, eyes closed, body motionless, with talons akin to hooks, one drooping and the other clawing into the trunk. The trunk was marred with deep claw marks, with traces of blood within them, depicting the fierce struggle of this raptor. The bald eagle, scientifically known as the white-tailed sea eagle, typically inhabits the river, lake, or seaside, preying on fish, water birds, and small mammals. This particular bald eagle was likely targeted by the crossbow while hunting at low altitude. Zuzin used a broken stone spear to tap the bald eagle's head, yet it showed no response. Dead? Or just pretending? This bald eagle was indeed a raptor. If it could be tamed, what formidable assistance it would be. Though success was uncertain, attempting it while it was injured couldn't hurt. Keek suddenly leaped onto the trunk, tapping the bald eagle's white head with its small paw, yet there was still no response. Come back! Zuzin grabbed the scruff of Keek's neck and hoisted it back onto his shoulder. After some consideration, Zuzin gripped the crossbow aimed at the bald eagle pinned to the trunk with one hand, while the other firmly pulled out the crossbow arrow. Killed the white-tailed sea eagle, gained points, 30, Zuzin. What's going on? Did pulling it out kill it? Or was it already dead but not counted until he touched it? No matter, dead is dead. At least he learned there were bald eagles active in the vicinity. If he could secure a similar contract later, he wouldn't need to hunt small beasts himself. Right there, Zuzin pulled out a fillet knife and dismantled the bald eagle. Gained, 10 pieces of feather, green quality. Gained, 7 kilograms of white-tailed sea eagle meat, green quality. Gained, 1 piece of white-tailed sea eagle bone, green quality, 10 feathers. Nice, alongside feathers collected from killing wild cats, finally attained crossbow arrow freedom. But oh boy, the amount of meat is really sparse. Despite the large size of a bald eagle, with a wingspan exceeding 2 meters, birds are genuinely light, otherwise, they couldn't fly. This one was relatively larger than those on Earth too. Raptors generally have larger female sizes, yet even female bald eagles weigh around 5 to 6 kilos, with even less meat once deboned. After recovering crossbow arrows from the forest, Zuzin searched all around but found only 4 arrows. The other one must have flown afar. Returning to the treehouse, Keek and Silver King started playfully chasing one another, causing Zuzin to smile wryly at their boundless energy. He himself proceeded to appraise today's haul. 2 blue-grade mutated rabbit ears, confirmed by him to have power enough to penetrate blue-grade iron armor, were definitely high-grade materials suitable for weapon crafting. A collection of hides, yes, hide autonomy achieved, with a blue-grade hide acquired from the blood-pattern rabbit. Also acquired many tendons. From the boar and blood-pattern rabbit, he obtained 2 blue-grade tendons each. Also, 1 blue-grade beast bone, various small beast meats, healthcare-worthy deer antler, and most notably, the meat of a mutant rabbit. The blue-grade hides and beast bones would be held until a sufficient quantity was gathered to make blue-grade leather armor. Regarding tendons, Zhu Xin planned to use one for a crossbow, the other for a heavy crossbow. As for the green-grade crossbow he held, Zhu Xin messaged Li Wenxi, "I want to trade for some iron blocks, exchanging with you for a crossbow." The technique remained in his control, using the product to trade for raw materials. Typical of an old capitalist at heart. A rapid reply arrived from the other side, "Crossbow? You have a crossbow? You. I practiced archery for an entire day, barely honing the skill, only for you to tell me you have a crossbow." Zhu Xin chuckled, "Just say whether or not you're trading." Trade. I'll do it when I get back, I'm still on the way home." Unlike him, Li Wenxi didn't have a mount, requiring more time to return. Zhu Xin set up a grill, took out the bald eagle meat along with various mushrooms, and prepared for a grilled eagle meal. Smelling the aroma, Keek and Silver King both gathered around. Zhu Xin tossed several kilograms of beast meat to Silver King and gave Keek an apple. Silver King gobbled up rapidly, while Keek sat by his side holding the apple, munching away while eyeing the meat on the grill. "What now? Want roasted meat again?" Zhu Xin asked with a smile. "Ying." Keek nodded, its small tongue licking its lips. Chapter 66, The First Spear Below the Purple Level. While grilling meat, Zhu Xin browsed through the information. In their explorer group, everyone was generally quiet. Occasionally, Ji Qiang would share some useful information, like where one might encounter certain wild animals. Zhu Xin noticed this during the day, but for someone with a map, it wasn't of great significance. Wang Lei and Zhao Ziaxuan would occasionally chip in with comments like, "Thanks, boss, I killed a wild boar, this rabbit's so cute I can't bear to kill it," or "Holy crap, there's a tiger." No one else had said anything today. You should know that everyone in the group has watches and can communicate anytime, anywhere. Yet, even now, no one was messaging. They were all strong individuals who could hunt at night as well. Possibly, only Zhu Xin would be exhausted and give up as soon as it got dark. Oh, and maybe Li Wenxi too. Of course, the others wouldn't be like him. If they weren't hunting beasts, they were on their way to hunt them. They hadn't stopped all day and were utterly exhausted. This group's really quiet. Zhu Xin shook his head and looked at the regional channel. The regional channel was bustling. Now it was dark, and most people couldn't hunt at night, so naturally, they would return to their tree houses. Now the regional channel had only 6,426 people left. This time, more than 500 people had died. However, this death count was less than Zhu Xin expected. Haha, today I killed a snake and a fox. Now I have 8 points. I'm definitely not in the bottom 50 anymore. That's nothing. I came across a lone old wolf eating carrion. I rushed up and stabbed it to death. Guess how many points? 20. You guys are so strong. I walked by the creek all day, killed 5 toads, and got only 2.5 points. Damn, these rabbits and foxes are too hard to catch. They run as soon as they see people. How did you all manage to kill them? Kill the aggressive ones, like wildcats. They approach humans, so you don't have to worry about them fleeing. Killing them can also yield beast tendons, which can be used to make bows and arrows. Clearly, someone wasn't paying attention. This morning, Boss G shared a strategy. Not paying attention to Boss G's guides is asking for trouble. Yeah, Boss G even told us where those wild animals are and which places to avoid. Not seeing that really cost you a fortune. I'm such an idiot. For the next event, I'm not leaving the treehouse until Boss G shares the guide. If he doesn't share it, I won't step out. By the way, who still remembers a certain Zhu Xin, Boss Zhu, who ranked higher than Boss G in the last event? Lone wolf, right? Pretty normal. Only weaklings huddle together. Bullshit lone wolf, bullshit weaklings huddle together. Zhu Xin, Boss Zhu, and Boss G are in the same organization. The weapons you bought are distributed by them. The strategy shared by Boss G was probably discussed together by the bosses, right? Boss Zhu being indifferent to fame and fortune is truly a model for us. Upon seeing this, Zhu Xin couldn't help but blush a bit. He hadn't discussed anything or been indifferent to fame and fortune. Little did he know that even though he was out of the community, his legend lived on. This really was benefiting from Ji Qiang's reputation. Zhu Xin reserved some resources for himself and posted extra green-grade animal hides and tendons on the trading platform. Soon, the meat was ready. Zhu Xin gave Keek a small piece and finished the rest with roasted mushrooms and wild vegetables all by himself. Ah! So satisfying. He patted his full stomach and collapsed into a chair, feeling extremely content. After a busy day, having a meal like this was incredibly delightful. Ying. Keek lay on the dining table, occasionally making a humming sound, very satisfied with its dinner as well. Silver King finished its dinner long ago and was resting in the corner. After all, having run around all day, even with its abundant energy, it was tired. When will those pine trees of mine finally mature? Hurry up and grow, I need more materials to give my room a proper makeover. Setting up a kitchen, just eating grilled meat isn't enough, it's time to make some stir-fried dishes. Zuzin thought, looking at the empty third floor. After vegetating in the chair for a while, Zuzin perked up and headed to the weapon crafting station. He had 2 special materials on hand to create weapons. Mutant rabbit ear, blue quality, a material for crafting weapons, can replace metal blocks, resulting in incredibly sharp weapons. He planned to use this rabbit ear to make an iron-tipped spear first. Sliding to the method for crafting the iron-tipped spear. Iron-tipped spear, green quality, the most powerful iron weapon against wild beasts. Longer is stronger, the sharp iron spearhead can easily pierce through beast hides. Durability 200, requires 5 units of wood, green quality, requires 2 units of iron block, green quality. Zuzin wanted to craft a blue-grade iron-tipped spear. The description for the green-grade iron-tipped spear and blue-grade stone spear was the same, can easily pierce through beast hides. The blue-grade would definitely be stronger. The blue-grade iron-tipped spear needed 1 piece of blue-grade wood and 1 piece of blue-grade iron block. Zuzin directly substituted the blue-grade iron block with the mutant rabbit ear. A spear that looked somewhat sinister was crafted. The spear's shaft looked fairly ordinary, but the spearhead was different. It was white and red, with the white as the base color and red forming patterns, identical to the colors of a rabbit ear. Mutated rabbit ear spear, blue quality, a spear made using a mutant rabbit's ear, sharper than a blue-grade iron spear, the sharpest weapon below purple grade. Durability 1000, holy crap, the strongest spear below purple grade. Zuzin felt his confidence surge. Gripping the spear, Zuzin thrust forward, finding the spear handle incredibly resilient. When he swung it, the handle bent into an arc. When he stopped, the red and white spearhead trembled, emitting a pleasant metallic ring. This feels amazing. Unconsciously, Zuzin started playing with the spear, the sound of wind and metal crisp and melodious. Ying. Keek was so scared it quickly ran to hide beside Silver King, lying in the corner. After playing for a while, Zuzin stored the spear in his backpack. He was a bit hesitant to leave the spear out. If it fell, its sharpness might gouge a hole in the floor of his purple-gray treehouse, since the floor wasn't meant for defense. He still had 1 more mutant rabbit ear. Crossbow. Zuzin decided to use this material on a crossbow. Although it could also be used on a heavy crossbow, for now, the crossbow was one of his primary weapons. His treehouse wasn't a low, small treehouse and generally wouldn't be attacked by beasts, so there was no need to upgrade the heavy crossbow now. Besides, there's Li Wenxi's blue-grade iron block for the heavy crossbow. Holding the blue-grade beast tendon and rabbit ear, Zuzin was eager to make the crossbow to see what it would look like when a video call came in. It was Li Wenxi. Zuzin put down the materials in his hand and answered the video call. The video showed a somewhat exhausted Li Wenxi, but her eyes were filled with excitement and a hint of dissatisfaction. Seriously, you had a crossbow and didn't tell me sooner. Did you think I couldn't afford it? I provided the materials, of course I can afford it. Li Wenxi looked at him again, hands on her hips. I've been pulling the bow all day, my hand is bleeding. As she said this, she stretched out her right hand. Zuzin looked at her hand. Sure enough, there were clear blood marks on the inside of her fingers, a line where even the skin was depressed. Her originally fair fingers were swollen and bruised because of the wound. This little beauty was really tough on herself. Chapter 67, Replacing the 10 crossbow. You're being a bit hard on yourself. Don't you want to apply some hemostatic grass? Zuzin asked, looking at Li Wenxi's hands with bloodstains. I forgot to bring it, wasn't I going to apply it as soon as I got back? Li Wenxi said, a bit embarrassed. You forgot to bring medicine. Is the bow that hard to draw? It's too hard, I've never drawn a bow before. Li Wenxi gently rubbed her injured right hand and then said excitedly, I killed several wolves today. The blue-grade iron armor is so strong, those wolves scratching me didn't hurt at all. Impressive, impressive, you can kill wolves. Hee hee, by the way, I want to buy your crossbow. Name your price. 3 blue-grade iron pieces for a crossbow, plus 20 bolts and after-sales service. 20 bolts require 2 iron pieces, green quality, 2 lumber, white, and 2 feathers, green quality. Zuzin used to make bolts with green-grade lumber, but there didn't seem to be much difference, maybe just sturdier, allowing for more reuses. After-sales service? What kind of after-sales service? If you run out of bolts, you can purchase more from me. Deal. Zhu Xin didn't expect her to agree so readily. He thought exchanging a crossbow for 2 pieces was enough. Previously, a full set of iron armor only swapped for 2 blue hemostatic grasses. Each blue iron piece could make a blue-grade weapon, not much worse than the hemostatic grass. It seems she has a lot of iron ore. Wait. Li Wenxi suddenly spoke up again. What, having second thoughts? No, can't the crossbow also be made into blue-grade? I'll give you 1 more piece, can you make me a blue-grade one? No, a blue-grade crossbow requires blue-grade beast tendons, which I don't have. Actually, Zhu Xin had 2 blue-grade beast tendons, but one was for making a blue-grade crossbow, and the other for a blue-grade heavy crossbow, which he needed, so he couldn't give them to Li Wenxi. If she had blue-grade beast tendons, he could make one for her. Oh, blue beast tendons. I don't have any either, nothing we can do then. Zhu Xin casually asked, you have a lot of blue iron pieces? Not that many, just enough when you ask. Li Wenxi winked at Zhu Xin with a playful smile, I can always provide you with iron pieces, so when you have something to sell, think of me first. Always provide? How confident. So wealthy? Do you possibly have some ability to explore minerals? Zhu Xin asked in a joking tone. Huh? No, you still want to trade or not? I want to practice with the crossbow quickly. The young lady's expression didn't show any change, but there was a hint of hesitation and urgency in her voice. As expected, she had an ability related to this. Zhu Xin knew, it's not possible for only him to be lucky, some others similarly gain special abilities. Pretending he hadn't noticed, Zhu Xin smiled, wait a moment, I'll make the bolts. By the way, do you have any snake poison sacks? They can be used to make poison arrows. Poison sacks? Yes, just a minute. Li Wenxi rummaged through her backpack and sent Zhu Xin a snake poison sack. Zhu Xin made 20 poison arrows, added his discarded crossbow, green quality, and sent it to Li Wenxi. Li Wenxi traded iron pieces and feathers with him for 20 regular bolts, and only then did they hang up the video call. Glancing over, Keek and the Silver King were curled up in the corner, seemingly asleep. Zhu Xin shook his head helplessly, eat and then sleep, be careful you'll get fat. Next, it was time to make his crossbow. The blue-grade crossbow needed 3 types of blue materials, iron pieces, blue quality, lumber, blue quality, and beast tendons, blue quality, while Zhu Xin used special materials from the blood pattern rabbit instead of blue iron ore. The blue light flashed, and a crossbow appeared in his hand. Like the previous sharp spear, the wooden crossbow arms were not different, but the metal crossbow and mechanism had a red and white color pattern, like a weapon skin in a game. Mutated rabbit ear crossbow, blue quality, a crossbow made with mutant rabbit ears, more powerful than ordinary blue-grade crossbows, the most powerful below purple grade. Durability 1000, Zhu Xin loaded a regular bolt, despite being more powerful, drawing the string didn't require more effort, it even felt lighter. Aiming at the tree trunk outside the window, he pulled the trigger. Whoosh! Crack! A familiar scene, but this time both the speed and power of the bolt were completely different. The bolt shot out rapidly, penetrating the tree trunk out of sight. Zhu Xin hurried down to check, seeing the bolt had gone through the first tree and into the trunk of a second tree, embedding halfway in. Strong. If this hits a vital point, even that brown bear might not withstand it. Zhu Xin felt the penetrating power was greater than that of a typical handgun. Pulling out the bolt, Zhu Xin found visible wear on both the arrowhead and shaft. It seems the power is too strong, causing the bolts to wear faster. But it's fine, I have plenty of feathers now, and with Li Wenxi, iron pieces aren't an issue. However, I should look for iron ore myself, or I'll be passive at critical moments. Currently, Zhu Xin was fully armed, with a full set of blue-grade iron armor, the strongest spear among blue-grade, and the strongest crossbow among blue-grade, probably unmatched at this stage. If there was someone who could compare, it would be Ji Qiang, since he could also get materials by killing mutant creatures. Returning inside the treehouse, his smartwatch suddenly vibrated. It was a message from Ji Qiang. Zhu Xin, did you kill that mutant creature? This was to exchange information, and Zhu Xin had the same thought. If the two had killed different mutant beasts, they could exchange information for mutual benefit, assuming the other wasn't lying. Zhu Xin replied, yeah, did you? Did you kill it? An audio call immediately came through. Zhu Xin, you must have noticed, the mutant beasts from the altar statues look very similar to the patterns on the underground monsters. Ji Qiang got straight to the point. Indeed, so did you kill the mutant beast? Zhu Xin asked. I resolved it as I was messaging you, that wildcat was too strong, and it cost me a lot. Turns out Ji Qiang took down a mutant wildcat, which was perfect? Your hunting speed is really fast. Zhu Xin was somewhat surprised, even having guessed it, he relied on maps and Keek for efficient hunting. He recalled Ji Qiang's posts in the regional channel about common locations for various beasts, an impressive knowledge base. Not that fast, I spent a day focusing on hunting wildcats. They are aggressive, so no need to chase them. Ji Qiang explained, let's not talk about this. Zhu Xin, did you hunt wildcats too? Zhu Xin raised an eyebrow, replying, no, I hunted rabbits. Perfect. Ji Qiang clapped on the other side of the audio call. Zhu Xin, we're the only two who can make offerings to the altar right now. You've seen it, these mutant beasts summoned by the altar give a lot of points and special high-grade materials. Let's exchange information. I'll tell you the characteristics of the mutant wildcat, and you tell me the characteristics of the mutant rabbit. That way, tomorrow we'll both save some effort, what do you say? Chapter 68, Information Exchange. Koi, how can I believe the information you give me is true? Previously, Ji Qiang, after killing the wildcat, sent him a message advising against offering a sacrifice, clearly trying to stop Zhu Xin, not wanting him to gain points and materials either. Now, seeing that he dealt with a mutant beast, Ji Qiang approached him for cooperation. This guy's thinking is very clear. If he decides to suddenly stab him in the back, it would be very hard to guard against. You've been able to kill another mutant beast, so I think killing a mutant wildcat shouldn't be impossible for you, right? It might just cost you something, and even if I deceive you, you can kill the wildcat. I would end up making an enemy out of you, which is unnecessary for me to do. Of course, the same applies to me. I just want both sides to pay less of a price. This is a win-win situation for both of us. Ji Qiang's explanation was calm and convincing, and Zhu Xin was more or less persuaded by him. It's quite stressful to cooperate with you, Zhu Xin shook his head helplessly. Haha, do you think the pressure you give me is small? I can't read you that well either. The laugh from the other side also carried a hint of helplessness. Then, the two exchanged their respective information on mutated beasts. By the way, you've got higher level weapons too, right? We can open trading of green level metal weapons to the organization now. Zhu Xin had tasted the sweetness of capitalism and found it hard to stop. I think so too. Ji Qiang laughed, just opening green level is good enough. Both of them laughed a little. Just about to hang up, Zhu Xin suddenly said, wait a moment, what mutant beasts are on the 4 pillars of your altar? Cats, rabbits, wolves, pigs, those 4. Ji Qiang did not hide it. I have the same 4 kinds. Since you're sincere, I'll let you know I've seen the statues on the pillars change before, but I don't know the reason. Oh? I got it, thanks. According to Ji Qiang, the size of the mutant wildcat is roughly comparable to a small tiger, with particularly fast burst speed. Its main attack method is its pair of sharp claws. One swipe could easily break a poplar into pieces, so you must not let it get close. You have to maintain distance from the start, or with the mutant wildcat's assault speed, there would be no way to avoid it. You might not even have time to raise your hand to block. But the mutant wildcat has a weakness, a common problem for felines, which is relatively poor stamina. According to Ji Qiang's account, when he first saw things going badly, he rode his mount and ran far away. The blood-patterned cat chased him, leaping forward repeatedly to launch fierce attacks on him. Although he tried his best to dodge, he was still severely injured. Ultimately, it was only when the cat was exhausted that he landed a fatal blow. The two discussed and reached a consensus. Once these blood-pattern monsters are enraged, they will relentlessly pursue the target until either they or the target is dead. The wild cat Ji Qiang encountered was like this. Usually, feline predators give up if they can't catch their prey, conserving energy for the next ambush rather than relentlessly chasing. The blood-pattern rabbit Zhu Xin encountered was the same. Despite being severely injured in the end, a typical beast would have already fled in panic, but it became more aggressive, trying desperately to attack Zhu Xin, regardless of its own blood gushing out. These blood patterns can affect the mindset of mutated beasts. Although they make them more aggressive, they also give them obvious weaknesses. If that blood pattern rabbit hadn't lost its head and had turned tail and run, with its speed, Zhu Xin basically couldn't have killed it. Similarly, if the mutant wildcat hadn't pursued relentlessly, it wouldn't have been exhausted and countered. Briefly freshening up, Zhu Xin lay down on the bed. Keek, who was originally curled up in a corner, had now somehow sprawled over on the edge of the bed, making Zhu Xin chuckle. This little guy used to sleep curled in a ball when he first got here, but now it's lying belly up. Perhaps it's because it feels very safe inside the treehouse. Having been exhausted for a day, Zhu Xin closed his eyes. When he woke up the next day, sunlight was already streaming into the treehouse, shining on Zhu Xin's face. After getting up and briefly washing, he turned around and saw that Keek and the Silver King were already waiting by the dining table. While having breakfast, Zhu Xin checked the regional channel but found nothing important. After a day of hunting, Most people seemed rather pessimistic. However, the explorers group was lively. Wang Lei, guys, yesterday I took down several large beasts. I feel assured about making it into the top 10 this time. Zhao Zixuan, wild boars and wolves count as large, so are there super large and super large beasts too? Wang Lei, hey, you talk as if you took down tigers and brown bears. Zhao Zixuan, haha, want to have a contest? Last time you surpassed me in ranking, this time I'll trample on your head. Wang Lei, bring it on. Who's afraid? Whoever loses posts I am a fool 10 times on the district channel. Wen Geixen, what's up with you guys, why the fuss so early in the morning? Qin Yanlong, how many points did you all get yesterday? Wen Geixen, why ask? Just wait for tonight's ranking, you'll be surprised. Zhao Zixuan, what, you can score higher than Boss G and Boss Zhu? Wen Geixen, who knows? Zhu Xin, after discussing with Ji Qiang, we've decided to open the trade of iron weapons, crossbows, iron spears, iron swords, iron knives, iron daggers. Bring the price if you're interested. Shortly after Zhu Xin sent out the message, a private message arrived from Qin Yanlong. The Qin Yanlong and Qin Yanu brothers have always been the ones to communicate and trade with him. Zhu Xin, I'd like 2 crossbows. I have a special resource over here, not sure if you need it. With that, he sent over the resource description. Koi, blue quality, consuming it permanently increases luck slightly. Can only be consumed once, so eat it soon, as it loses effectiveness if dead for too long. Zhu Xin. Koi? A resource from the waters. Zhu Xin hadn't yet gone after water resources. The lake near his treehouse doesn't have any high-grade fish or shrimp due to the piranhas. The lake by the hilly resource zone is inhabited by crocodiles, making it temporarily inaccessible. Mainly, his treehouse's crafting list doesn't include rafts or such, and his swimming skills are just at the level of floating in ocean waves, limited to shallow waters. Didn't expect there to be such a great resource in the water. Luck is a valuable thing. It can affect all probability events, like making it easier for him to obtain higher grade materials, or improve success rates in crafting as mentioned during a chair-making attempt. Although it's currently 100% successful, Zhu Xin guessed that when he starts crafting purple grade tools and weapons, failures might become possible. Upon seeing that this, koi, can only be consumed once, he understood why the other party would sell such a valuable item to him. They've probably already consumed it. The other side, seeing his delayed response, called him. 1 fish for 2 crossbows, you provide the raw materials, bolts are extra. Zhu Xin felt that this fish with permanent attribute increase was worth 2 crossbows, but negotiation was still necessary. That's not feasible, you're practically processing for me in exchange for a blue-grade resource, a permanent attribute improvement. I'm sure Ji Qiang also wants this fish. After some discussion, Zhu Xin exchanged 2 crossbows for the koi, and the other side provided double the materials to purchase 40 bolts. Are you good at swimming to acquire high-grade water resources? Zhu Xin asked Qin Yanlong after completing the trade. Not bad, my brother and I were diving instructors before coming to this world. Impressive. If you discover something valuable in the water in the future, consider me first. I can make you an offer you'll be satisfied with. Zhu Xin sent Qin Yanlong 80 bolts, the extra 40 is my token of good faith. This Qin Yanu has great swimming skills and is in the top 10 for strength, so it's appropriate to maintain good relations. Although it meant giving an extra 40, he basically just used the opponent's double materials to produce and give back. The tone from the other party noticeably softened. Alright, if there's any resource to sell in the future, I'll consider your offer first. Happy hunting. May you top the leaderboard again. After ending the call with Qin Yanlong, Zhu Xin realized that Chigzhai also sent him a private message, looking for a crossbow as well. Blue-grade hemistatic herb for 1 crossbow and 40 arrows. It seems there are still many who are not adept with bows. For ordinary people, shooting at lively beasts with a bow isn't quite feasible. A blue-grade hemistatic herb is equivalent to a life, making it a worthwhile deal. Provide your own materials for the bolts, and if you want to purchase more bolts later, it will require double the materials. Sure. The other side agreed without fuss, and the transaction was completed. Having finished the trade, Zhu Xin tentatively asked, if I need more blue-grade hemistatic herbs, can I purchase them from you? The other side was silent for a moment and then replied, yes. Zhu Xin pursed his lips, another lucky person. It seems there are quite a few talent-abundant survivors here, which means he'll need to work even harder. Chapter 69, Giant Monster. It's not even 7 in the morning, and Zhu Xin isn't in a rush to go out. Though he's already had breakfast, he still intends to consume the golden carp he just acquired. The grill, blue quality, and the dining table, blue quality, are supposed to enhance the effects of the carp further. After eating the golden carp, Zhu Xin doesn't feel any change in himself like he did after eating the power-enhancing bear paw. Luck is inherently elusive and intangible. After fully equipping himself, Zhu Xin is ready to leave. Today's task is quite simple: hunt wildcats, gather enough sacrificial materials to offer at the altar, summon and kill the mutant wildcat, and earn points and high-level materials. The points from a single mutant creature are equivalent to a whole day of hunting. The danger level is just a bit higher, but with Ji Qiang's experience, as long as what he says is true, Zhu Xin is confident he can minimize the losses. Before leaving, Zhu Xin restocked his heavy crossbow arrows to 5, loaded them, and set it to automatic mode, hoping for a potential surprise upon returning today.